Before we continue with this afternoon's debate, I would like to recognize members of the Student Council from St. Augustine's College who are here visiting with us in the gallery today, along with their teacher, Mr. Terrence Pratt. We thank you for being here on this first session. And I understand that there are several senators who also attended St. Augustine's College. Pardon me? The St. Augustine's College. I'm corrected by the Vice President of the Senate, former senators who attended St. Augustine's College. We have Senator the Honorable Dr. Eresia Hepburn, Senator the Honorable Vice President of the Senate, Barry Griffin, and Leader of Government Business, Senator the Honorable Michael Halkitis. So you all are in excellent company, and there's a lot of role models around the table for you. And I just want to say thank you all so much for coming, and we hope that you enjoy today's proceedings. And I also understand that there are members from the debate team here as well. And welcome, and I hope that you will enjoy the debate that we're about to embark on in the afternoon session. And also during the break, thanks to Senator the Honorable Kirkland Russell, I had the opportunity to speak with Miss Mary Grant from Central Grand Bahama. She is the great-grandmother and also the caretaker to little Miss Bella Walker, the 4-year-old girl who passed over the weekend. I extended to her our sincere condolences from the Bahama Senate, and I assured her of our love, I assured her of our prayers, and I assured her that God has not forgotten her and that nothing can separate her from the love of Christ. And so I would admonish you to continue to keep Miss Walker, Miss Mary Grant and her family, her entire family, Central Grand Bahama, in our prayers as they progress through a very difficult, traumatic, and tragic ordeal. Honorable members, when this House suspended its business at 1 p.m., we were debating the resolution thanking the Governor General for his speech at the opening of the new session of the Parliament. I presume that we are ready to continue. As many? The chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Dr. Eresia Hepburn. Thank you.
Madam President, I am grateful and humbled to have been chosen to be a senator of our great nation to represent the people of the Bahamas. I thank God for this opportunity to serve, and I would like to take this time to extend my gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister for reposing his confidence in me. At this time, I would publicly like to thank my parents, Eric Jr. and Suzanne Hepburn, who have always been the best role models and supporters a child could ask for. Also, I would like to thank all of my family and friends, noting in particularly my students and my priest, Canon Campbell. I am willing to serve to make our country stronger and better because of all of you. Before continuing with my presentation, Madam President, I would like to extend heartfelt congratulations on your election as the 6th female president of this august body. And I thank you for affording me this opportunity to contribute to this resolution, thanking the Governor General for his speech from the throne. Madam President, as we stand on the shoulders of great women, such as the first female president of the Senate, Dame Doris Johnson, author of The Quiet Revolution, we understand that in 2021, the revolution can be quiet no longer. Issues such as agriculture, climate change, disabilities, education, mental health awareness, and women's empowerment are no longer whispers, but are now sonic booms. We understand to do nothing is deliberate destruction and doom for ourselves and for our country. Madam President, education comes in various forms, and the Progressive Liberal Party has embarked on a journey to meet the needs of our people where they are and provide them with the tools to take them where they need and want to go. One of my joys as an educator is that students tend to keep you grounded and updated on issues. I was told by some of my students when I was appointed to the Senate that they were overjoyed because they knew there would be no slopping up. They also stated that if I performed in the Senate the way I performed at work, they would be certain to tune in because they know the country would at least hear about positive growth and change. I thank them, Madam President, for their kind words and for being focused on following the progress of our nation. Madam President, as I take a sober look at the current state of education in our country, the review is not the best. It is no secret that the state of education has long been crumbling and in a serious state of crisis. And the COVID-19 policies of the previous government seriously crippled our education system even further. Madam President, it is my view that this could have been handled much better. Madam President and my fellow Bahamians, the Rescue Bahamas train is loaded, fueled, and on the move. We will put education back on track by moving full steam ahead with our plans. Madam President, I would like to pinpoint a few of these programs. One, a national mentorship program to expand mentoring and networking opportunities. Two, a nationwide tutoring program to address learning and loss. Three, revamping of the national curriculum with particular focus on STEAM subjects and understanding that a cookie-cutter model may not always be the answer. Additionally, Madam President, repositioning and re-energizing BTVI as a regional leader in teaching trade skills and fostering entrepreneurship and innovation, and utilizing the National Training Agency to provide opportunities for lifelong learning in our citizens. Madam President, at the primary and secondary level, this administration will focus on solution-driven data and create stakeholders' policies that prevent our students from repeating and dropping out of the educational system. We will focus on students with disabilities and special learning needs and pay attention to the importance of occupational therapy and special and mainstream education, where teachers can be trained on how to determine if a child requires intervention. Madam President, it was not until I attended Tuskegee University, after years of education, that I was tested and diagnosed with dyslexia. Thankfully, because of my parents and a cousin who was a teacher, my learning issues never adversely affected me. But what about those that do not have the support system? This New Day government will ensure that all persons, regardless of their station in life, have the opportunity to be educated and overcome the impediments that are commonly unnoticed because of the lack of testing. Madam President, of all the educational initiatives, I must say the one nearest and dearest to my heart is the Bahamas Agricultural Marine Science Institute, commonly called BAMSI. BAMSI is an integral component of our blueprint for change, and under the leadership of Minister Clay Sweeting, we will expand opportunities supporting Bahamian farmers, create new Bahamian experts in agriculture and science, and reduce our nation's food import bill while simultaneously lowering our carbon footprint. BAMSI is a big first step towards sustainable, climate-smart agricultural growth. However, because of the mismanagement and neglect by the former administration, we are still struggling in this area. This government will invest more into BAMSI's success, which is now poised to create new opportunities throughout our islands and create more agripreneurs. Madam President, as the Minister of Agriculture stated, too many agriculture is not sexy or a popular subject to study or pursue. But as a career, this New Day government is bringing agriculture sexy back. Firstly, let's come to a common understanding of what agriculture is by definition. Webster states that agriculture is a science or practice of farming to provide food, clothing, and other products. You see that agriculture provides the most important needs of a man based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That is food, shelter, and clothing. The absence of these things would bring death, chaos, and destruction to all societies. The question I'm always trying to answer is, if agriculture is so important to our survival and development, how is it that we do not strategically put our time and resources in cultivating this industry in a manner that ensures it thrives and provides the necessary food security needed to accelerate our development as a nation? Madam President, permit me to expand on what is food security. Food security exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutrition foods that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy lifestyle. I would like for you to take in the definitions I have read and ask yourself this question. Do you think that every Bahamian is food secure? In a study conducted in 2018 by myself and a colleague in Delaware, the numbers were not as positive as we had hoped. Now, in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian and the continued struggle with COVID-19, I would project that the outlook is bleak. We each have a role to play in being our brother's keeper. And as such, I have partnered with a food feeding program called Mars Meals and encourage all of us to either give our talents or treasures to this worthy feeding initiative or any initiative of your choosing. Madam President, we are faced with the hard reality that our Bahamian economy is in shambles and the agriculture sector that is collapsing due to the lack of investment in the training, tools, and resources. This sector's last census was in 1994, almost 30 years ago, and our country's food import bill continues to be far too high, which means we are overly dependent on foreign imports and paying far too much for food. Under our country's newly elected leadership, we are determined to diversify our economy to revive the nation's declining agricultural sector and to create new opportunities for the Bahamians. We know that there's a lot to do, and we are prepared to do the work. We are prepared to partner with organizations such as the Bahamas Network for Rural Women's Producers Association and the Bahamas Agricultural Forum from Youth to ensure that women and youth are participating in the agricultural process. Madam President, Bahamians have no problem being the first to chart the waters of progress. And with the leadership of our progressive Prime Minister and the Minister of Agriculture, I am certain that we are well on our way to ensuring permanent food security in our country. Madam President, I think that it is clear that we understand the dire need for food security, while at the same time ensuring climate-smart choices. In a nutshell, basic sustainability principles. Madam President, a noted scientist defined climate change as a change in the state of the climate that can be identified by persistent changes and variability of its properties that persist for extended period, typically decades or longer. As a researcher, I had the opportunity to visit the Maldives to attend a conference in 2009. While there, the current president, Nasheed, and 13 officials held an underwater cabinet meeting to call international attention to the threat of global warming on that island nation. The Bahamas and the Maldives, Madam President, I can tell you are faced with the same climatic issues. And if the world continues on track with a 1% global warming, we won't survive. Our Prime Minister has recently returned from the Conference of Parties, commonly called COP or COP, and the G20 countries have yet to fully address all concerns. In the previous COP21, where the Paris Agreement was agreed, there has been much criticism. In the article entitled Paris Climate Change, Deal Too Weak to Help the Poor, critics warn of the myriad of issues of the agreement. In particular, Richard Chatterton states the deal reached in Paris is too weak, containing no concrete increase in the level of ambition to address climate change, and simply urges countries to do more over time. Article 9, Section 1 of the Paris Agreement states, developed countries parties shall provide financial resources to assist developing countries parties with respect to both mitigation and adaptation and continuation of their existing obligations under the convention. However, here we are participating in COP26, and the reality is that several governments have failed to meet the 2009 pledge to provide $100 billion annually in climate finance for countries such as ours. Reports suggest that it'll take another 2 years to reach this goal, and that around 70% of the financing will be provided as loans. Tariq Barnick, climate economist and former director of sustainable development at the UN, stated, "We all assumed it would be grant financing. We didn't pay attention to the fine print or expected that developed countries would hide behind loans." Madam President, following one of the tenets of the speech from the throne, which is seeking climate justice, our Prime Minister, while addressing the conference, sounded the clarion call for action, specific and concrete policies, changes and support by providing financing and technological transfer that are urgently needed so we can rebuild and rebuild for resilience. He spoke truth to power, and we proudly thank him for his invaluable contribution. Madam President, a recent survey taken indicated that most Bahamians are not even aware of climate change and have no idea what mitigation or adaptation is as it relates to climate change or how to participate in those strategies. The Bahamas is not a major climate polluter. However, we are the ones that will feel the effects the soonest without change. The questions that I have for us come directly from our Prime Minister. Are we brave enough to make the changes for this moment? Are we braver than our predecessors when it comes to raising awareness and resilient strategies? Can we summon the courage and ingenuity and determination to succeed where they did not? We need to save our people and our planet. If we don't, we will die. Madam President, Dame Doris stated in her book, The Quiet Revolution, in addition to championing the rights of women in the Bahamas, the Progressive Liberal Party was instrumental in breaking down barriers of discrimination. This has rung true then and now, as it was the PLP under the leadership of the Honorable Melanie Griffin that brought the Disabilities Act and workshops for women in politics and women in leadership, which I am grateful for as a graduate of these workshops. I endeavor to do my colleagues proud in this regard. These fundamental trainings have led to such organizations as Caribbean Women in Leadership being brought to our shores, of which I am also a member, and encourage all of our female senators to become a part of this organization. Madam President, while we have made strides in the political and social arenas, females are still being disenfranchised in our country today. The amount of gender-based violence and sexual abuse is heart-wrenching. Unfortunately, many of you would have already seen the story about Miss Bella, who was faced with sexual abuse and died. I pray to wake up in a country and a world where these atrocities would never take place. Our government understands that we can no longer place a band-aid on issues such as these, And while we plan to introduce a sexual offenders court, we also understand that we need to do more to thwart these horrific behaviors in advance. In our blueprint for change, we will introduce research-based analysis and policies on countering violence and crime, coupled with partnerships that will be established with pivotal organizations to assist with the reduction of crime and violence, especially towards women and children. Madam President, women will continue to break down barriers and remove obstacles. While our government brought the Disability Act in 2014, there is much more needed to be done to ensure inclusion of our citizens with disabilities. Imagine going to work for 8 hours a day and not being able to get into a fully functioning bathroom. Or just as mortifying, having to ask persons to assist you as you cannot get access through the doors by yourself. These are the realities persons are faced with within our country. Madam President, a young lady recalled to me not being able to park at a handicap parking at a major hotel. And in fact, instead of being offered free valet parking, she was told if she could not pay, she should go away. To add insult to one of the spaces that was taken up by someone who did not even have a physical disability sign on their vehicle. We have to ensure that we enforce this act, Madam President. As another person told me how they did well on 2 phone interviews, was offered a tentative position based on their face-to-face interview, however, when they arrived in their wheelchair, the offer was rescinded. And the person indicated because of their physical condition, they would not be a good fit for their organization. Finally, Madam President, and this person requested that I stated their name. We have to ensure that we improve disability transportation within our country. Mrs. Gardner Thurston wanted to attend her father's funeral on another family island. However, because she has a physical disability that prevents her from walking, she was told by the airlines that she could not fly. Issues like this must be addressed with urgency. And the PLP government has stated in their blueprint for change that they will increase the benefits for the disabled to improve their living condition. It is really a new day for this community. Madam President, this past week, I had the opportunity to participate in a training by our local Bahamas Red Cross and Canadian Red Cross on mental health and psychosocial community support. Here, one of the participants indicated that based on a survey sent out by the Bahamas Red Cross about the need of psychosocial support in their organization or workplace, a staggering 99% indicated that it is needed. Madam President, mental illness or mental health disorders, including substance abuse disorders, affect every family. Every age group is affected, and each year, 15 to 25% of individuals experience a mental illness, and as many as 15% of adults are diagnosed. These illnesses can be treated, but sadly, they're not treated adequately due to many factors, including limited mental health awareness, social stigma, and the lack of access to adequate treatment. Often these victims are not able to speak up for themselves. However, if we agree that there's no health without mental health, then we must advocate and ensure that mental health is given a greater importance and mental illness treated early and effectively. Dr. Jane Turnquest, first female psychiatrist in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, retired. Madam President, Sir Lyndon Oscar Pinling stated, if we stay anchored in the awareness of our nation, the fundamental values and the demands of our people, by constantly and tirelessly working for the common interests of the broad segments of our people, and by consistent democratic enlightenment and persuasion, it will always be better in the Bahamas. Madam President, in closing, I will end with a poem adapted from I. Miller, currently a student at UB. We, the people of the government, have to energize and prioritize and realize we must ensure that the future is bright. In order to do, we must still fight and build a future that is right. Where wrong has no place, and we can bask in God's grace because there's truly much work to do. In church, work, and home, there's no time to roam. But let us continue to stay focused and do not stray as we execute our plan for the new day. And we will continue to be the best government, and it will stay that way. Madam President, thank you and the Governor General for his speech from the throne, and may God continue to bless the people of the Bahamas.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. As many. The chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Maxine Seymour.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, when I was a little girl, I would dream of growing up and making a difference in my country. I wanted to be an inspiration to other little girls, girls like my 4-year-old daughter, Rachel. So after decades of community service directly targeting children, I decided I would serve at a national level to make a difference for the children in our country. Because if we invest in our children now, they will thrive. When our children thrive, families and communities thrive. The country thrives. This is why when it comes to children, we must get involved. We must remember the old adage, it takes a village to raise a child. And sometimes it requires that village to get in other people's business. Be a nosy neighbor. Call the police every time. Call child protection. Call anyone. But whatever you do not sit idly by. My heart is overwhelmed by the headlines in today's dailies, Madam President. And everyone who knows me knows how impassioned I can get when it comes to children. So in order to avoid losing my composure, I will simply say, may Bella's soul and those of all other children rest in peace. Kudos to you, Madam President, on your election to the office of President of the Senate. I look forward to your fair, balanced moderation of our proceedings and to enjoying freedom of speech in our debates, whether we are government, opposition, or independent senators. Hats off and thank you to His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Cornelius Smith, for his exceptional delivery of the speech from the throne at the opening of Parliament on October 6th. All the best to the new administration led by Prime Minister Philip Davis, who I'm told is loyally supported by my Store family in United States and Salvador. And Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper, I'm not sure if he knows, but he and I are actually cousins because his mother and my grandfather were two first cousins who originally came from Long Island to Exuma and both fell in love with persons from Forbes Hill. And so we have to get together at some point and trace our roots. Congratulations and best wishes to my colleagues, the members of Parliament who have ably formed Her Majesty's loyal opposition, 6 of whom retained their seats, including our dedicated party leader, Dr. Hubert A. Minnis, and a newcomer, Adrian White, who's expected to continue the good representation his constituents have become accustomed to over the years. We have the most beautiful country in the world in which to live, move, and have our being. We are a nation of incredibly intelligent, crafty, and witty people. I am thankful to God Almighty to have been born here and now in this Bahamas at this time in our history. I am proud to be a part of a thriving democracy where the people have the right to choose. Based on their choice, I am here serving as part of the official opposition rather than the government, which we would have preferred, but I am not here to oppose for the sake of opposing. All of us in this upper house, I believe, love our country and its people. I will partner with the government on any and all initiatives that benefit the Bahamians, generations, this current, and those to come. But I will likewise hold the government accountable when I believe it is not making decisions in the best interest of the Bahamian people or not keeping its promises. I would like to commend the last administration for all of its accomplishments, particularly those focused on bridging the gap and making life better for our most vulnerable populations, including the provision of education for over 3,000 preschool students as part of their universal preschool program and the $1 million provided to preschool owners to expand and refurbish their facilities. Governance is continuous, Madam President, and I am pleased to see in the speech from the throne that this government will continue in the path of the previous government who worked diligently to expunge the criminal records of some of our citizens. The speech vows to take it a step further by creating a national second chance job program, which is commendable. During the most recent administration, Madam President, the minister and team at the Department of Social Services and Urban Renewal did a phenomenal job. Urban Renewal conducted after-school programs, minor roof repair was ongoing, as were senior programs at all of the centers. I'm happy to report that Urban Renewal was fully funded and functional, with every center up and running throughout the Commonwealth. During the pandemic, Urban Renewal teams walked about with greater intensity, checking on persons and handing out care packages. They also ensured that our country's elderly and persons with disabilities had their assistance vouchers delivered to their homes. In fact, the Urban Renewal team even executed on the traditional Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and senior recognition events while adhering to all health and safety protocols. Now, COVID-19 obviously had some impact on the programs, for example, the annual summer program. But so this year, they were not able to gather the way they usually would. So instead, the children collected hot meals during the summer and were given school supplies at the end of the allotted time. So thumbs up to Urban Renewal for a job well done. Madam President and fellow senators, I long for Bahamas for all Bahamians, a place where there is equality and equity, and everyone has access to opportunities, regardless of family name, social or economic status, or any other predisposed factors. A place where we are equally protected by law, and each citizen's ambitions are unprohibited, where no one is discriminated against. A Bahamas for all Bahamians is a place where it does not matter if you are PLP, FNM, DNA, Coalition, BDM, or whatever other party you may belong to. A place where people are allowed freedom of religion, where the rich and poor, women and men, adults and children, persons with and without disabilities are all valued as citizens of this country, whether citizens by birth or naturalization. A Bahamas for all Bahamians is one where the kids can feel free. No matter how complicated the world gets, Madam President, children should have safe neighborhoods where they can grow up unharmed, secure, and healthy, and develop to the maximum extent of their potential. The minister-led administration established the National Neighborhood Watch Council to improve community policing, and I encourage this administration to expand on it as necessary, but do not abolish it, as governance is continuous. Madam President, I get enraged, and I mean enraged, when I read some of the stories in our newspapers. I have to double take to see if it's the local news section. Not that I'm suggesting that such practices are acceptable anywhere else. Like I have said, governance is continuous, and I must pay homage to the late Honorable Dr. Bernard Nottage, who championed amendments to the Child Protection Act to include Marco's Law, while Marvin Dames and the Minnis administration fully implemented the Marco alert system. But we must do more. As lawmakers, we must not stop until there are stiffer penalties for those who rob children of their innocence or harm them in any way, so that everyone in this country thinks twice, even 3 times, before even looking at a child. A small fine or minimal prison sentence is insufficient. We must focus on ensuring effective legislation and policies to protect our children. We must adopt safe and sustainable development practices to ensure that the decisions we make today will have lasting beneficial impact for future generations. The body of one lifeless child is objectionable and far too many. Our laws need to be tough and intolerable. How can we sleep at night, like the good senator said? In a nation where children are not safe, the Bahamas needs to be a place for all Bahamians, including young Bahamians. The speech from the throne promises, and I quote, to increase the benefits for persons with disabilities and ensure that the provisions of the Persons with Disabilities Equal Opportunities Act are fully implemented and enforced. A Bahamas for All Bahamians is a place where people with disabilities can thrive and use their immense gifts and talents toward nation building without prohibitions, where laws are not just on the books, but are implemented with regular audits conducted, and those who are not in compliance promptly penalized. A Bahamas for All Bahamians is rampant with ramps, elevators, automatic doors, accessible bathroom stalls, and other measures. It is a Bahamas where persons without disabilities do not park in spots designated for persons with disabilities, and where leaders lead by example. I just recently, just last week, observed a notable legal professional, followed by a tourism and aviation front runner, park in preferred, spots, dash into the ABM and come out. These are influential individuals who should not only know better, but do better. But they are more likely the norm than the exception, which is sad. Hello, Bahamas. Parking for persons with disabilities does not equate to VIP parking for you, especially influential Bahamians with a sense of entitlement. Stop it. I must commend the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas for consistently providing sign language interpretation during the evening newscast over the years. But when last have any of us taken note? Have we considered how tough life must be for the hearing impaired now that everyone is wearing a mask and they cannot read our lips? When last did you observe any braille signs at any building? Are the lights bright enough where you work for persons with visual impairments? Did you know that persons living with autism are extremely gifted and need to earn money for living expenses just as you do? They make great employees. A Bahamas for All Bahamians sees equal employment opportunities, even affirmative action for persons with disabilities. How many persons with disabilities are employed in the public service? How many of them are employed anywhere? These are real and enduring challenges that have been insufficiently attended to by successive governments. The last administration, of course, was sidetracked by 2 major storms and a global pandemic. So I commit to partnering with this current administration to make the Bahamas a better place for persons with disabilities. Madam President, gender is irrelevant when it comes to vision, passion, and the ability to contribute to national development. The Bahamian woman is strong, educated, and capable, and we are increasingly becoming the leaders in our communities, on our jobs, and in our country. We have to continue to create an environment that allows us, all the women of this country, to grow and excel. Thanks to the previous administration, women now own and operate 50% of the small businesses in our country. Because of the administration's free tertiary education, young women from all over this country have taken advantage of the educational opportunities and often outpace their male counterparts as the brightest minds in our nation, leading in so many arenas. Bahamian women, there is more to be done. We are not the property of man to be dragged through the streets, while budding film producers choose to capture rather than intervene. Violence against women is never acceptable, and when a parliamentarian can get up in the Honorable House of Assembly and brag about how he physically assaulted a woman with no recourse, then what can we expect of other male citizens? Sadly, we are still not where we need to be in terms of gender parity. We have been so conditioned in this patriarchal society of ours that we do not push the envelope. We quietly adhere, take whatever the men give us, and show appreciation when they act like they're doing us a favor, including us in their circles, with politics as a stunning example, Madam President. No politician can win without women, because we are the ones who organize campaigns, who evangelize for candidates, who stay up late and get up early and beat the ground to make sure candidates are elected. Women keep candidates focused and on task. Women are the majority in this country. Plus, women are increasingly the heads of households, as proven by data from the Department of Statistics. Most homes in the Bahamas are now headed by women. Yet, even though we are brilliant and qualified, we allowed men to reward us with tokenism and convince us that we should be grateful and celebrate when we have 18% representation in Parliament. We are so acclimatized that although our Parliament has been in session since 1729, with perhaps more than 50 speakers, we celebrate instead of asking why. After 3 centuries, there have only been 2 women to hold the office. It's as if the men figure that when they're taking a group shot, it would be good to break the monotony by having one woman stand between every 4.5 men. When will we join hands across the divide and say enough is enough instead of smiling for the camera? Oh no, perhaps I shouldn't say these things. I should be more grateful for my appointment. Why is it that we do not find it absurd that so many suitably qualified women find it necessary to dilute their achievements by prefacing it with female as an adjective? I don't know the last day I heard a male say that he was the 10th male chief financial officer or 4th male cabinet minister to hold a certain portfolio. Our femininity has nothing to do with our capabilities, sisters, and the tokenism will not cease until we have had enough. We have to take a stand so that every little Bahamian girl can aspire to achieve her biggest dream and know that she can accomplish anything, just like the boys in her class. We will continue to work toward a Bahamas for all Bahamians. Madam President, I believe that it's important to pause to show gratitude and give honor where it is due, especially as a candidate in the most recent election. You see, the Free National Movement is more than an organization. We are a family that has existed for half a century, one that stands for justice, accountability, transparency, and good governance. A family that puts people first and is proud to be Bahamian. We are a family on fire and our torch burns brightly, even as it is passed from generation to generation. The spark of good governance and the spark of accountability lit the fire under the dissident 8 and led those giants to lay the foundation for our party. It was the twin sparks of justice and equity that motivated and sustained the great women on whose shoulders I stand. Women like my mentor, the late Teresa Moxie Ingram. And I'd appreciate it if you would join me in a moment of silence for the late Honorable Teresa Moxie Ingram. It is that sense of duty to our organization and most importantly to our country that propels the candidates vetting committee of the Free National Movement to be stringent during the selection process. Hats off to the election coordinator, Dr. Nigel Lewis, and the entire team for compiling a slate of 39 of the brightest, most talented Bahamians who we all hoped would have formed the next government. The only thing I recommend to the committee next time is that we have 20 women and 19 men. Madam President, fellow senators, I was able to sit with the only living member of that 1968 cabinet of the Progressive Liberal Party, who became a founding member of the Free National Movement. I speak of none other than Sir Arthur Folks, to whom I owe a debt of gratitude. He and his son, Brandon, adopted the 14 new candidates, coining for us the term Team Renaissance, highlighting our commitment to our party's new birth. Regrettably, for 13 of the 14 newbies, some of the people who may have voted for us likely remained in the safety and comfort of their homes watching Netflix on September 16. The residents of St. Anne's managed to squeeze voting into their schedule, however, and so we know that Adrian White will represent Team Renaissance well in the lower chamber as leader of opposition business. To the F&M party officers, K. Peter Turnquest, Deputy Leader, Carl Culmer, Chairman, Serpent Rhodes, Secretary General, Dwight Sawyer, Treasurer, Deputy Treasurer Ethan Adderley, Reverend Gregory Minnis, our chaplain, all other national officers, foot soldiers, and Central Council members, especially, Madam President, the meritorious council members. In our party, you see, they're the VIPs, and we owe them a debt of gratitude because they're the reason we're still standing after 50 years. Thank you to everyone for your continued commitment to service based on one common goal, and that is the advancement of our great Commonwealth. I am forever grateful to the Right Honorable Dame Janet Bostwick, who made herself accessible to me throughout my campaign and continues to be nearby to provide words of wisdom, guidance, and support. To have someone so distinguished take personal interest in molding younger women is a reflection of a character. Dame Bostwick, along with the immediate past president of the Senate, Dr. Mildred Hall Watson, Wani Ann Dorset, F&M Women's Association President Vanessa Scott, Virginia Hall Campbell, and others were there to help provide real support for the female candidates before, during, and after the elections on September 16. And I know I speak for Jenny, Felicia, Nicole, Pakisha, Miriam, and Vandia when I say we love and appreciate all of you more than you'll ever know. His Excellency Alvin Smith, MCM Malverna Wong, Carl Bethel, Lisa Bostwick Dean, Honorable Tommy Turnquest, Seabreeze resident Pauline Allen Dean, former Women's Association President Betty Benoit, Torch Bearers Youth Association President Carlisle Bethel, officers and members of the TYA, the dynamic social media team led by Heather McDonald with Brandy Maynard, Denari Roll, D'Angelo Ferguson, who got promoted to candidate, Madam President, for the strictest timeline and did an exceptional job. Thank you all for demonstrating the true meaning of a political family. Thank you too. And of course, I contradict myself. The first female Speaker of the House of Assembly, Roma Talia Johnson, who was a constant during the campaign, regularly checking on me. Thank you to those who seeded into my campaign. Politics can be a costly venture, Madam President, and every single dollar counts. May God bless them abundantly, as he promises to bless those who bless me. Thank you to the F&M Seabreeze Association, executives and members for embracing me and faithfully toiling the ground with me. You showed up and showed out, along with a few faithful persons from Golden Gates and Killarney. I will refrain from listing your names because I care deeply about you. And while this New Day government says it's inclusive, I prefer not to take the risk, since I wouldn't want you to suffer the peril my grandfather endured because he didn't support the Old Day Party. But they were yellower back then. This New Day Party appears to lean more to the blue side. Thank you to my church family for putting partisanship aside to support me as a sister in the faith. Our pastoral team and members recognize that there's a place for believers in politics and that our country can only benefit from their presence. I owe similar gratitude to my classmates from St. Anne's class of '94, an exceptional group of professionals who topped their fields across industries. I remain accountable to them for voting me most likely to succeed when I can barely walk a day in many of their shoes. To my technical support team, persons like Dale Dean Jr. and others who I've known since forever, thank you. To my best friends, you know who you are. You may not get involved in politics, but it helps to know that I have people who truly love and care for me. To my Exuma family, my aunts Paulette, Advara, and Annie Mae, my paternal aunt Yvette, who is a constant in my life, I appreciate you all. Thank you. Thank you to all my extended families, Taylor, Storr, Seymour, and Bowleg, for your love and support. And Madam President, I would like to extend condolences to the Bowlegs on the passing of the Reverend Father E. Etienne E. Bowleg. Uncle Edison has made an outstanding contribution to our country, and my prayers are with his wife Cheryl and his son Eddie and his daughter Cherise. I have a personal cabinet, Madam President, an intimate group of the brightest minds, and I leverage all their intellectual capacity to provide strategic direction during the campaign. Thanks. I won't let you down. I also won't name you since you serve in silence. To my mom, Nathalie Louise Taylor, I was driving the other day, Madam President, and a song came on the radio with lyrics that said, "There's no love like a mother's love." I appreciate my mom for all the sacrifices she made for me. You know, the mom who went without so the daughter didn't have to. She once told me that even when she had opportunities to date and likely form a lasting relationship, she opted not to. Cautious, because her first duty was to protect me. I can never repay her. I am committed to serving my country with all my being, and my family is willing to serve alongside me. My husband, Coach Rico Seymour, is a shining star. Thank you for putting up with me. He is so amazing, and I cannot imagine how dull life would be without his big smile, brightening every day. My firstborn and only son, Lyndon Joshua, is my intellectual superior, plus he has a sense of humor to go along with it. Thank you for being there. Our 3 talented school-age daughters, Rika, the eldest, is a gifted chef. She's also very mature and intuitive. Renee, our talented musician, who allows me to journey with her on her Marvel adventures. I try to keep up, Madam President, and she's good at explaining to me when I'm lost as ever. And our first grader, Rachel, who is the life of the party. The flowers she picks and the drawings she presents are welcomed relief at the end of a long day. I would like to end by formally thanking the Leader of the Opposition for the opportunity to serve as the Shadow Minister for Social Services and Urban Renewal, Urban Development. You know, Senator, the Honorable Michael Alcides mentioned earlier that, the Senate is seen as a stamp, and similarly, it is not often that social services is a top pick for many because it is not accompanied by the prestige of some of the other portfolios. But for me, it is a chance to follow in the footsteps of who I believe was the first social services minister to ever hold the office, and that is Jesus the Christ, who defied societal norms and embraced the most vulnerable, interacted with the marginalized, brought dignity to the downtrodden. He took time to sit with and engage children after his disciples attempted to shoo them away as if they were a nuisance, unworthy of his time and attention based on his busy schedule. Jesus touched lepers, Madam President, the most stigmatized people in the community. He reached out and touched them. He spoke to women as if they were equals in a male-dominated society, when that was unheard of. Women like the woman at the well, Mary, as she poured perfume on his feet, and the lady he called daughter after healing her from her blood disorder. Jesus told the lawyer that it is important to treat others with equality, including Samaritans. In simple terms, we must love our neighbors as we do ourselves. I stand ready to offer policy recommendations, advice, and support to the Minister and Minister of State for Social Services and Urban Development, and to scrutinize their initiatives, programs, and actions to ensure that they are helping to create a Bahamas for all Bahamians. Because as Mahatma Gandhi puts it, the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. Prime Minister Davis already knows this because the speech from the throne states, and I quote, "Even as we vigorously pursue avenues of progress throughout our country, my government is mindful that we will not leave behind the most vulnerable or discouraged people in our society. I vow to see to it, Madam President, that the government keeps its word." Again, thank you to His Excellency, the Governor General, for the speech from the throne, and thank you to you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. As many Chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Tyrell Young.
Madam President, I stand here this afternoon in these hallowed halls of democracy with a sense of great honor and humility. As one of the newest members of the Senate, I am truly humbled. Madam President, I want to thank God for blessing me and rising me to this occasion. I am privileged to represent the great Progressive Liberal Party and to continue its legacy guided by the founding principles of social justice, economic justice, principles of economic justice, nationalism, liberation for all people, not just the 1%, but all people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity to congratulate you, Madam President. My apologies, Madam President. Madam President, on your promotion and appointment, leadership of this historic chamber. I also welcome this opportunity to offer my congratulations to our Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Honorable Philip Edward Davis, and Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Isaac Chester Cooper, for leading the PLP to grand victory in the elections. I am cognizant that I owe my presence here today to the Prime Minister. I express my sincere thanks and gratitude for the trust and the confidence he has placed in me. Madam Speaker, and I assure him and the wonderful people of the Bahamas that I will perform to the best of my ability in fulfilling my senatorial duties to the benefit of all Bahamians. Indeed, I am elated and somewhat still in awe of the level of trust our Prime Minister has placed in the youths of our nation. Madam President, this is evident by the multitude of young men and women who were nominated by the PLP party and are members of the House of Parliament. Now, Madam Speaker, not only are we members of the House of Parliament, many of us were appointed to leadership positions in government ministries, departments, corporations, authorities, and board of directors and committees. Our Prime Minister is a visionary, a mentor, showing faith in young men and women of all of our beloved Bahama land, training us to become great leaders now and for the future. Madam President, I extend sincere thanks to His Excellency Sir Cornelius A. Smith, Governor General for the Bahamas, for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And I express great gratitude and appreciation for the speech from the throne. Madam President, the people of the world are experiencing a myriad of new challenges in this ever-evolving world. We in the Bahamas are not exception. We in the Bahamas are no exception to these experiences. We, the government, must hastily mobilize all available resources, deliberately formulate answers to address difficulties. I am blessed to have loving, supportive parents who taught me to be industrious and true to myself. Both my parents hail from family islands that have made great contributions to the economic and social development of the Bahamas throughout its existence. My mother, Dawn Trico Young, is a descendant of Long Island, reputed for crop, vegetable, livestock farming, and boat building. My father, Gary Terrell Young, is a native of Eleuthera, also known as the Isles of Freedom. I am delighted to say that Eleuthera is where the first meeting of Parliament took place on the 29th of September, 1729, in the settlement of Governor's Harbor. And then an interesting fact is that some 40 years ago, Eleuthera was referred to as the breadbasket of the Bahamas, believe it or not, because of its large-scale farming and variety of crops, vegetables, chicken hatchery, livestock farming, and of course, its pineapples, also known as sugarloaf. You know it. The hotel industry was vibrant during that period as well. Madam President, I wish to give a special recognition to the family, friends, and strong communities of Long Island. I thank them for their tremendous support throughout the months leading up to and after the general elections. I wish to assure my Long Island family, and I want to repeat, I wish to assure my Long Island family, friends, and neighbors of my continued interest for their well-being and my efforts toward full development of that island. Thank you to my wife and children for their unconditional love and support. My family and friends are my biggest cheerleaders. All of my siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, I want to say a special thank you. I was introduced to politics by my uncle and cousin, who are true nationalists and are fervent about alleviating the burden on the less fortunate among us. More so, Madam President, as a young Bahamian man and a 15-year entrepreneur, I can actually relate to the many inequalities, injustices, and inefficiencies in the Bahamian society exacerbated by poverty, exacerbated by poorly designed policies and measures implemented by the Minister administration. The Free National Movement's poor governance and the resulting social, economic, and health degradation on our communities helped influence my decision to run for Parliament. I am determined to make a positive difference in the lives of my fellow Bahamian citizens. Madam President, the Prime Minister has charted a strategic course to rescue our nation from crisis and build a sustainable 21st century and beyond, as articulated in the speech from the throne. Among its many objectives are government's commitment to the following points. 1. Rescue, restore, strengthen the economy. Achieve greater food security and reduce our reliance on imports by a great margin. Introduce measures to encourage renewable energy industries in solar, wind, and ocean thermal energy. Aim to generate at minimum 30% renewable energy by 2030 for consumption, in accordance with the Paris Agreement, an international treaty adopted by the Bahamas at COP21 on the 12th of December 2015 and entered into force on the 4th of November 2016. Madam President, fellow senators, we are reminded that the goal of the Paris Agreement is to limit global warming below 2 degrees Celsius, preferably 1.5 degrees Celsius, compared to the levels prior to the Industrial Revolution, which began approximately over 200 years ago. The 196 signatory countries aim to achieve a climate neutral world by mid-21st century. Madam President, our Prime Minister recently attended the United Nations Climate Change Conference of the Parties, COP26, in Glasgow, Scotland. We, along with the global population, are invigorated by the impassioned demand to those nations which are the greatest generators of carbon emissions to adhere to their commitments made 25 years ago to reduce the carbon levels. Madam President, the Progressive Liberal Party's Blueprint for Change sets out a 10-point action plan on how our government will seek to recover, rebuild, and revolutionize our country. Madam President, I have selected 3 areas of concentration related to point 4 and point 5 of the Blueprint for Change, namely renewable energy. Small and medium-sized enterprises, also known as SMEs, and agriculture and agribusiness, which will serve as platforms going forward. In addition to experiencing an increased number of hurricanes in my short lifetime, I have witnessed the damaging effects of global warming on our islands in the Bahamas. Having resided on New Providence and short periods of time in Long Island, being a frequent visitor of Eleuthera, I have seen the rising sea levels and erosion of the coastline in the historical sediments of the latter 2 islands. The sea has overtaken the earth where houses once stood, Madam Speaker. Moreover, our country's use of fossil fuels to generate electricity in duplication throughout the archipelago is costly and has proven unreliable, evident by many brownouts experienced by family islanders. My government will work closely with the Bahamas Power and Light Company, the Ministry of Public Works and Utilities, along with non-governmental organizations to encourage use of alternate methods for power generation, such as I spoke to before with renewable energy. Madam President, Our government will facilitate the expansion of agriculture, the agriculture industry for local consumption, export, through strengthening collaboration and creating synergy with the Department of Agriculture, Bahamas, with the Department of Agriculture, Bahamas Industrial and Agriculture Corporation, and the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute, BAMSI. Madam President, these two initiatives dovetail into my third platform of increasing the number of small and medium-sized businesses, particularly in agribusiness. Our government, Madam President, our government, through its funding and business development agencies, will increase funding, technical assistance, and provide business support services, startups, and existing businesses, for existing businesses. Madam President, I have introduced my mission and will expand on how it will be accomplished through legislation, policies, and measures in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. As many The chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Barry Griffin.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I would first like to thank you for the opportunity today to address you, this upper house, and the Bahamian people as I express my sincere gratitude to His Excellency, the Governor General, for his speech from the throne. It is exactly 7 weeks since the September 16th general elections. It would make for an interesting case study to examine the outlook of Bahamians today, November 8th, 2021, vis-a-vis the outlook of Bahamians 1 year ago or even 3 months ago. As I travel the country, the nods of approval, the sincere best wishes, the hopes and eager anticipation of the Bahamian people would lead us to believe that even in just 7 short weeks, Bahamians have become more hopeful about their country and their place in it. Madam Speaker, as I make this address, regrettably though, not every Bahamian is preparing a spread for tonight's dinner. Not every Bahamian knows where their next dollar is coming from or how they will keep the lights on. Things today are still not as they should be. But what I am sure of today is that every Bahamian woke up more hopeful, more excited, and more confident in a brighter tomorrow. This, Madam President, is our one and only goal. This is what we set out to achieve when the Bahamian people gave us our mandate on September 16th, 2021. We didn't promise a quick fix. We didn't say that there wouldn't be growing pains. So what we did promise is that we would work tirelessly and selflessly to turn the fortunes of the Bahamian people around. We promised that we would stop the decline of the Bahamian economy. We promised to stop the hemorrhaging of our healthcare system. And we promised to return the positive outlook that Bahamians and the world had in the Bahamian brand. We promised to bring the Bahamas back to where it belongs, in the region, in the world, and in the hearts and minds of all Bahamians here in the motherland and abroad. Madam President, I am happy to report that this mission of the PLP is being accomplished. Did you see our Prime Minister at the United Nations Climate Change Conference? Did you hear his address? Did you see the attention he commanded from world leaders? The Bahamas is on the road again. Today, now, the Bahamas is once again punching above its weight. For this, Madam President, we must thank the great people of the Bahamas. We thank every voter who cast their ballot for the PLP, every supporter of the progressive cause, the civil servants who got to work on day one to ensure a smooth transition for our government, the private sector who has vowed to support our policies of growth and revitalization, our regional counterparts for their well wishes, and the international community for their support. And most certainly, Madam President, we thank Almighty God for leading us to this new day and a chance to a brighter future. Madam President, the journey, however, is just beginning. On taking office, the Bahamas was staring in direct path to economic, health, and social icebergs of titanic proportions. The PLP has only just begun to dig us out of the proverbial hole. And one thing is for certain, we need all hands on deck. Long before the general elections were announced, Bahamians collectively felt broken. We all knew that the boat was leaking. We all knew that the captain was asleep at the wheel and the first mates were swimming in waters way too deep for them. So when they were borrowing billions after billions, increasing our debt to the highest level it has ever been in a modern Bahamas, we were planning. When they were enacting policies that put a stranglehold on commerce in the Bahamas, we were planning. When they were spending $20 million on sidewalks while doctors remained unpaid and patients sat outside the hospital in leaking tents during a pandemic, we were planning. We were planning for the calamitous state that we would inherit. We set our plans and principles that lay behind them in our blueprint for change, which became the social contract with the Bahamian people on September 16, 2021. This social contract, declared in the speech from the throne, commits us to a legislative agenda to rescue the economy, to provide a compassionate social relief and security, to reconstruct the public infrastructure in a sustainable and resilient manner, to create Bahamian empowerment, to better protect our natural resources, to revolutionize education, to promote wellness and plan for each island, and to incorporate the National Development Plan. These 8 objectives undergird the transformative agenda of our government. Madam President, the many conversations I've had with the Bahamians, the length and breadth of this country, has cemented in me that though I stand here, this isn't about me. I stand here representing the many Bahamians who feel as though they have no voice. The young people who are uncertain about their place in this Bahamas, the struggling and the broken who feel as though no one has their back, the masses of people who want to believe again that the Bahamas is the greatest little country on earth. I stand here for them. But as I stand here, I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to publicly eulogize some giants who we've lost and who have had some hand in my development. On October 18th, U.S. military General Colin Powell died. As a young Black man who was interested in politics and living in the United States during the last Bush administration, Colin Powell was an ever-present figure for me, someone I studied, someone I grew to respect and admire. He was an exemplary soldier and political figure who was at the center of some of the most consequential events of our lifetime. He helped a generation of young people like me set our sights higher. If this Black man of Caribbean heritage can reach the highest heights in American politics in a system that isn't always fair to people who look like us, why couldn't I, a Black boy of humble beginnings from the islands too, aim for the stars? I admired how he never denied the role race played in his life, but also how he refused to accept that race would limit his dreams. In following his life and his work, my convictions were strengthened, and I was emboldened not to let obstacles get in my way. He was not a starry-eyed idealist. He was pragmatic and principled. This shining through most brightly when Powell, a man who had been associated with the Republican Party for decades, broke ranks to endorse Barack Obama in 2008. As I embark on this journey of public life, I look to him as one example of a patriotic and principled public figure I can use as a model. Closer to home, the progressive cause in the Bahamas lost two giants in the persons of Monica Flowers and Stephen Johnson, both residents of Yellow Elder who died recently. As a young PLP, these two stalwarts took me under their wings, showing me the ropes, guiding me, and leaving me with valuable life lessons I won't soon forget. Party politics can be a battlefield. And so on a personal level, I've always been deeply appreciative of the very public way in which both Miss Flowers and Mr. Johnson supported me. I'll miss my morning phone calls with Miss Flowers saying a prayer for me before my day starts. And I'll miss the 10 and 20 phone calls a day from Mr. Johnson, updating me on every political thing under the sun. To the families of both Monica Flowers and Stephen Johnson, be proud. They lived exemplary lives fighting for what they believed in, and their legacy will live on. May they all rest in peace. As a young person, I never underestimate the value of someone taking a chance on you and giving you an opportunity. Oftentimes, we have the plan, we just need the platform. And so, I'm particularly appreciative of our Prime Minister for making a conscientious effort, not just to support, but to truly elevate young people in his administration. From my election as the youngest person to hold the post of Vice President of the Senate, to the appointment of Senator Quinton Lightbourne as the youngest chairman of the Bahamas Development Bank, to the appointment of JoBeth Colby Davis as the youngest woman to sit in cabinet, to Latre Raming, the youngest person to hold the post as a director of communications in the office of the Prime Minister, to Felicia Woods, the youngest person to hold the post of director of investment in the office of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Davis understood the assignment. These early steps have put young people on notice that you can live and thrive and grow in this brave new Bahamas. The time is ours to take up space in our country. The time is ours not just to be part of, but to help lead the transformative changes that will solve the real challenges facing every Bahamian and positioning the Bahamas as a leader in the region and in the world. During the election, Madam President, we said that our mission was not to tinker at the sides of our problems. We said that we would tackle them head on, taking on the big challenges that face us as a nation. Presently, there is no bigger challenge than the climate crisis. The Prime Minister has taken this on as a personal mission of sorts, retaining the disaster management under the portfolio of the Office of the Prime Minister, committing himself personally and our administration wholeheartedly to climate advocacy, a green economy, and green investment. The Bahamas is not now and has not ever been the problem, but yet we are forced to pay the price. Those are the very powerful words of our Prime Minister in speaking to world leaders at the COP26 summit in Glasgow. The Bahamian people can rest assured that this government is not seeing in 5-year cycles. Our vision and our policies and our advocacy are directed to secure a brighter future for generations to come. Our foreign ministry is in action and in high gear. In the first 7 weeks of our administration, the public has seen a higher level of Bahamian engagement in the world than it has for a very long time. Our foreign minister has hit the road to have the Bahamas regain its rightful place at the table advocating for issues that matter to us. There has been Bahamian representation at the Italian, Latin America, and Caribbean Conference in Rome, strengthening our bilateral and multilateral ties. In London, to lobby for Baroness Patricia Scotland to return to her seat as Secretary General of the Commonwealth, and for the Bahamas to return to a seat on the International Maritime Organization Council. We've been at meetings with the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, the Pan-American Health Organization, and the Coalition of CARICOM Foreign Ministers. To speak briefly on perhaps our most important relationship internationally, which is that with the United States of America. They're our largest economic partner, and on the foreign policy front, our objectives are very similar. There's much work we can do together. Our administration is keen to grow our relationship with the United States and to continue to find ways our two countries can assist each other. In line with the big transformative plans of our administration, our foreign minister is currently in talks with the United States regarding visa-free travel for Bahamians to the United States, a feat that would be monumental for the Bahamas. This is a new day. In keeping in line with our big picture transformative changes, the Ministry of Works is committed to large-scale infrastructural improvements throughout the country. There are a number of projects already in the pipeline, but I will briefly highlight a few proposed projects. The extension of the Milo Butler Highway to Cowpen Road to enhance traffic movement in the developing Southwest New Providence, providing for a traffic study at various locations in New Providence with a view to undertake a program to improve the public road system and ease the flow of goods and services by solving existing traffic problems that create high costs for road users. The Ministry of Works will not be Nassau-centric, however. There are several family islands which have not had road repairs carried out for many years, if not decades. Cat Island, San Salvador, Inagua, Mayaguana, the Berry Islands, and North Bimini. So these will be given priority attention by our administration as well. As articulated in the speech from the throne, the government will introduce a new and progressive building code to increase resilience in the face of Category 5 hurricanes, which present a major hazard to the construction industry and our coastal environment. With respect to the public service, now more than ever, we need big paradigm shifting ideas to move the business of government forward. We recognize that it's time to push the processes of government into the 21st century. Digitization will play a huge role in this. We are committed to a digital document management solution to store and organize government files and automate organizational workflows. We are committed to digitizing more government processes. To be clear, Madam President, we aren't just saying that your file will no longer be lost or that you won't have to print 100 copies of each document to physically take to a government office. We are committed to completely transforming the way government does business. Faster processing times, enhanced access to e-services, data analytics, and machine learning. We are committed to a revolution in the public service. Madam Speaker, Madam President, our government committed to being transparent, to shine light where once there was only darkness. In line with that commitment, the very first task of our Minister of Transport and Housing was to shine light on the many secretive deals of the past administration. Our minister tabled the Town Center Mall lease, revealing that previous government had committed to pay out over $800,000 a year to rent a portion of the mall from a company owned in part by a minister in their cabinet. Our minister also revealed that the much-touted Prospect Ridge housing development was a far cry away from being an actual option for young professionals looking for housing. Madam President, our government is committed to making affordable housing a reality for Bahamians. The Ministry of Transport and Housing is at this very hour collating a list of properties that are ready to go now. In the short term, the ministry will secure locations around the country, not just in Nassau, where turnkey home solutions can be provided to Bahamians. Madam Speaker, Madam President, our government is well on its way to achieving the objectives in our blueprint. Madam President, as I wrap up, if you would allow me for a moment to turn my attention to something that's incredibly hard to speak about. By now, we've all heard of the tragedy of Bella, a 4-year-old who was said to be the victim of an assault that led to her death. I would like to take this time to express my sincere condolences to her family and to express my utter shock that something like this happened here in the Bahamas. So today, I am happy to use my privilege and platform in this place on behalf of baby Bella to acknowledge all the women and girls whose stories don't make the front page news, whose stories don't make it to Parliament. I want to acknowledge the women and girls who are victims of domestic violence, who are simply statistics instead of vibrant, beautiful girls full of potential. For far too long, these Bahamian women and girls have just been numbers. We must say, never again. We as a government, we as a society must commit and recommit ourselves to doing all that is humanly possible to ensure that there is not another Baby Bella tragedy. To my fellow Bahamians, your government is hard at work for you. We just ask that you remain committed to a better tomorrow. We ask that you continue to march with us. We ask this again today because we don't take your commitment for granted. This journey of transformation and revitalization will be long, a long but worthwhile journey to renewal. Madam President, my fellow Bahamians, let us all recommit to the cause of nation building. Nation building. We haven't heard that word in a while. Bahamians, this government needs you. We need all Bahamians to fly our flag high and with pride. We need all Bahamians to think, breathe, promote, and live the Bahamas. My fellow Bahamians, if you do that, I assure you that your government will lead you and the Bahamas back to where it belongs, at the top. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. As many, the chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Kirkland Russell.
Madam President, it is with a spirit of humbleness and service to country that I stand to my feet in this historic place to thank the Governor General for his gracious speech from the throne. Madam President, before I move on, I must take the time to mention the name Ionia Bella Walker. Madam President, I believe that I am the only one in this honorable place today who personally met and knew little baby girl Bella. I live in the community of Hunters in Grand Bahama, and Bella's father is from that community. As a matter of fact, young Mr. Smith was born the same day, a few hours just before my son, Kirkland Jr. And the mother married it, the grandmother. I don't personally know the mother. The grandmother married it, and great-grandmother, Miss Mary Grant, who was like my mother in the community, you know, they were the real caretakers for little Bella. And in the last general election, I was fortunate to run for the Progressive Liberal Party in the Central Grand Bahama constituency. And young Bella grand-uncle, Warren, would from time to time bring little Bella to my constituency headquarters, where she would display her lovingness. She was the real sense, epitome of innocence. You know, she just loved everybody. She had a wonderful smile. She was just one of Grand Bahama's little angel. And so on behalf of my family and the entire community of hunters, I would just like to extend condolences to the family of Bella. Displayed here today by a lot of my colleagues demonstrates that little Bella, that a sword of sorrow has indeed pierced the heart of the Bahamian people. And it is my prayer that we never experience such a tragedy in this Bahama land again. Madam President, I wish to thank Almighty God for all the many blessings and acknowledge that it is only by His grace that I am here. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Patrice, and all my children for their unwavering love and support. I thank all my family and friends, including my church family at St. Vincent de Paul Roman Catholic Church, and all those who join with me in the labor movement, especially those affiliates of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas Trade Union Congress. Madam President, I am eternally grateful to God for using the late Fred and Mrs. Melvina Russell to bring me into this world. They were wonderful parents, prudent in their responsibilities to bring me up with discipline and the instructions that comes from the Lord. I thank them for all the nurturing and love and support that they gave me during their lifetime. Madam President, I congratulate the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Philip Edward Davis, and his party for the convincing victory at the polls on September 16th. There's no doubt that the Bahamian voters trusted his New Day agenda and in sound judgment rejected former administration's doom and gloom track record of governance. Madam President, I wish to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for affording me the opportunity to serve in his government as one of his honorable senators. It is indeed an honor and a privilege, and I do not take these duties and responsibilities lightly. Madam President, I also wish to sincerely congratulate you on your elevation as President of this Honorable Senate, and I wish you great success and wisdom in your deliberations. Madam President, I take this opportunity to thank His Excellency, Sir Cornelius A. Smith, Governor General of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, for his well-expressed speech from the throne. The speech carefully outlined the government's blueprint for change. And I can tell you that it has already inspired young as well as not so young Bahamians to aim for the stars. It has lifted the spirit of the business community, ordinary Bahamian workers, and their bargaining agents all across this archipelago. Madam President, while the speech highlights the government overall objective for the entire Bahamas, it is noteworthy to point out that the speech mentioned the island of Grand Bahama specifically on a number of occasions. This acknowledgement is not coincidence, Madam President. It shows this government's added commitment to the island of Grand Bahama and to the Grand Bahamian people. Why this distinct recognition for Grand Bahama? Because the full potential of Grand Bahama as the second city has long not been realized, and the Davis administration has set out to make Grand Bahama grand again. You see, Madam President, there's no denying that Grand Bahama plays a significant role in this nation. In fact, it was the former Prime Minister who, upon visiting Grand Bahama, not long after being elected, made this statement, and I quote, "As the economy of Grand Bahama goes, so goes the economy of the Bahamas." Imagine that, Madam President. The former Prime Minister of this country said that Grand Bahama was so important that it was the wind beneath the wings of the Bahamian economy. Yet the island was basically neglected in the 4.5 years that followed. What should have been the window of opportunity for Grand Bahama to finally get the kind of attention it so long deserved turned out to be a litany of broken promises, unfinished capital works, and idle words. There's no denying that Grand Bahama has been severely neglected over the past few years. But it is a new day, Madam President, and under this new day government, Grand Bahama will finally get the push towards becoming grand again. However, before we can truly begin to recover, rebuild, and revolutionize the island that was once known as the Magic City, we have to first ensure that the health and well-being of our citizens is adequately addressed. As the country continues to battle the COVID-19 pandemic, it is vital that our health institutions provide the best health care possible. Madam President, there are many challenges facing Grand Bahama healthcare facilities, including the many weaknesses and vulnerabilities of the Grand Bahama healthcare system. Madam President, the poor state of affairs in which the Round Memorial Hospital was left following the passage of Hurricane Dorian leaves much to be desired. The halls of the healthcare had flooded, destroying equipment and endangering patients, doctors, and workers. It should be noted, Madam President, that the doctors, nurses, and workers at the RAN were heroic on that dreadful day, pushing back their own fears and worries to ensure the safety of patients in the hospital. Even in the days that followed after the storm had passed, nurses, doctors, and workers at the hospital showed up for work every day, disregarding their own loss and devastation. We can never, ever forget the sacrifices of these healthcare workers who put patients above self. These are the kind of people who work at the Round Memorial Hospital and community clinics in Grand Bahama. And Madam President, I sincerely thank them for their royal service. Madam President, unfortunately, the facilities at which they must work every day does not serve their needs just as well. Even with the supposed upgrade, there's still much to be desired at the Round Memorial Hospital. There's still inadequacies in terms of space, beds, patient capacities, modern equipment, and specialty clinics and specialty doctors. There's also a desperate need for more staffing, particularly nurses. There's also a need to upgrade various community clinics on the island as well, Madam President. The newly appointed Minister of Health, Dr. Michael Darville, recently visited the healthcare facilities here in Nassau and on Grand Bahama. And the minister said in his initial assessment, there was still much work to be done and that there is a need for emergency funding. Minister Darville in the other place said the need for new hospitals is paramount. It is important and crucial that the public facilities are able to meet the demands of what is expected to become a vibrant and growing second city once again. This is why, Madam President, I am hopeful when I heard the health minister say that the government will begin to lay solid plans to construct a new facility in Nassau and in Grand Bahama. Madam President, within the speech from the throne, the Davis administration has committed to expanding the development of airports in Exuma, Grand Bahama, and North Eleuthera, and has promised to advance the development of all major airports across the Bahamas through public-private partnership. Madam President, it has been 2 years since Hurricane Dorian devastated the airport in Grand Bahama. And if one was to drive by the airport today, signs of that fateful day stares you right in the face, reminding passerbys of the horror Grand Bahama suffered in September 2019. For 2 years, nothing has been done to either tear down or rebuild the international and domestic section of the airport. In fact, I am not sure if either of those buildings have been open since the storm. And I understand that mold has taken over both of those buildings. The former government, after a long drawn-out negotiation with Hutchison Vanpour, finally said they came to an arrangement and purchased the airport for $1. Madam President, we all saw behind what I call the smoke and mirrors of that deal. While they were celebrating the idea of purchasing the devastated airport for $1, they did not say much about if any insurance was collected by the previous owner, or they never talk about the millions of dollars it cost to purchase the runway, or the cost of having to pay out the staff members at the airport. What is even more disturbing, Madam President, is the horrifying conditions under which employees at the control tower at the airport have to work under on a daily basis. 2 years after Hurricane Dorian, the tower looks as if it was just hit by a storm a few days ago. The offices and buildings on the ground floor have no walls, Madam President. It is just a frame of an office. There are no windows, and in most cases, no walls. Workers have to go there and work in the cold or heat. When it rains, they have to huddle at the back of the building so that they won't get wet. No employee, Madam President, no employee should have to be subjected to working under such inhumane conditions on a daily basis. This is wrong, Madam President. However, I know the Davis administration will work tirelessly to resolve these urgent problems at the Grand Bahama Airport. Madam President, the economy of Grand Bahama has been on a down spiral for decades, and Grand Bahamians are crying out for relief. It was expected that the sale and reopening of the Grand Lacaille Resort would have helped to alleviate some of the financial hardship and the high rate of unemployment on the island. The former administration's handling of the potential sale of the Grand Lacaille turned out to be a gut-wrenching roller coaster ride and a nightmare for the people of Grand Bahama. The Deputy Prime Minister, who recently toured the facility, has said that the Lacaille deal was a bad deal. There has been a lot of holes in the Lacaille deal, Madam President. In fact, the Lacaille deal would probably read like a redacted CIA file because so many facts and details about the deal had been left out. It was not until the Davis administration came to office and got a look at the deal with all of the information that the Deputy Prime Minister said while on his feet in the other place that he was disheartened with what he found. He said that the cost associated with the property up to the time that he had visited Grand Bahama, which, by the way, was late last month, was close to $200 million. The purchase of the resort by the former administration was to save jobs. Yet, Madam President, 2 years since the purchase, hundreds of jobs have been lost, and business owners and employees in the nearby Port Lacaille marketplace have been holding their breath in anticipation of seeing the deal close and work on the property begin. But nothing has happened, and more business owners say that they can hold on no longer and are being forced to close their business in Port Lakaya. Madam President, while there's no easy solution to this Lakayan debacle, the Davis administration has promised to be transparent with the Bahamian people and let them know the truth about this project and the future of the resort. That is why, Madam President, I'm happy to see in the speech from the throne that the Davis administration has committed to developing an investment portfolio for family islands to promote an investor-friendly environment, which a focus on an investment portfolio with a focus on an investment portfolio for specialized industry. It has also promised to promote Grand Bahama to harness the power of the maritime industry. This, Madam President, is certainly good news. While Grand Bahama has always been known as an industrial hub and has always succeeded in that area, I believe that Grand Bahama can have the best of both worlds with its industrial side and tourism side. But we have to work hard to revive the tourism industry on the island of Grand Bahama. That will include rebuilding a first-class airport, improving the harbor terminal, and work feverishly to increase the island's room inventory. I will admit that we have a long way to go in reestablishing Grand Bahama as a premier tourist destination, but it is not impossible. Madam President, if we hope to fulfill the goal of attracting new, local, and direct foreign investment, we have to come to terms with the high cost of electricity. High power bills are said to be one of the reasons for many foreign businesses closing their doors and leaving Grand Bahama. While I cannot say for certain that it is the main reason, I do know that many businesses have shut their doors in the past few years. In any event, a real talk about the cost of electricity in Grand Bahama will have to happen if we are to move on and develop the island as more than just an industrial hub. Madam President, I was extremely happy with the position of the government to categorically state that they will not support any rate increase on any portion of the customer base for electricity on Grand Bahama at this time, which has been requested by the Grand Bahama Power Company, Emera. Additionally, in that same release from the Ministry of Grand Bahama on October 19th, it was pointed out that the Honorable Prime Minister have appointed a select committee of 5 substantive cabinet ministers to review and address the power situation on Grand Bahama. This is indeed a first. Madam President, in all these suggestions that are being made to bring Grand Bahama back to the place it once was, there is one common thread that runs through them all. And that is the important aspect of the labor force. Every one of these ventures will require workers' participation on all levels, which means that the government will have to seriously address the labor agenda relative to Grand Bahama. Madam President, the International Labor Organization, ILO, established a unique forum where the tripartite structure of government, employer, where the tripartite structure of government, employer, and labor freely and openly debate matters of mutual interest. The beauty of such a forum, Madam President, is that all stakeholders are respected and treated as equal partners. As a result, this tripartite format has enjoyed much success over the years. Wherever it is followed in earnest, simply because the mutual respect that is required, simply because of the mutual respect that is required by all stakeholders. Madam President, it is my opinion that the past 4.5 years under the last administration was the worst period for workers and their unions since the 1958 general strike. However, as the Vice President of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas Trade Union Congress, as well as Vice President of the Bahamas Hotel Managerial Association, I am extremely pleased with this government's intention to work harmoniously with labor. Madam President, this honorable Senate should know that even before the general elections, Prime Minister the Honorable Philip E. Davis, while in opposition, committed himself and his party 100% to the workers' agenda by publicly signing the Memorandum of Understanding with the labor movement. This helped to set a new day agenda to respect workers and their agents, to secure Bahamian jobs, to put Bahamians first, promote equal and fair, to promote the equal and fair distribution of wages, to promote workplace safety, to promote gender equality, and to strengthen labor laws, including the Industrial Tribunal, all in an effort to manage the tripartite relationship. This is what a new day means for the workers under a Philip Edward Davis administration. At this time, Madam President, I would like to remember Dr. Thomas Bastian, who, one of our labor heroes, he was very instrumental, Madam President, in organizing and writing the workers' agenda, along with President Obi Ferguson and the rest of the leaders within the movement. But Dr. Bastian recently passed. And so I would like to remember one of our true heroes in the labor movement, Dr. Thomas Bastian. Madam President, we must also address the issue of casual labor, both in the industrial sector as well as in government agencies. In fact, within the speech from the throne, the Davis administration intend on addressing such issues. Madam President, allow me leeway to quote directly from the speech on this matter, and I quote, "My government will ensure that all labor issues are addressed as a matter of priority. My government will advance the overall effectiveness of the public service through the expansion of training programs to assist in proper skill set placement, customer service, and revenue enhancement. Also by implementing digitization to provide efficiencies and clearing backlogs within the ministry and public service commission." Madam President, as I take my seat, allow me to stress the importance of my government doing all it can to pull the people of Grand Bahama out of the slums in which they have been subjected for so many years. Grand Bahamians are tired of living on promises, Madam President, and every day the island is still, and today the island is still suffering from high unemployment, poverty, homelessness, dying businesses, abandoned homes, and the landscape has become a sad scope of deserted buildings where far too many dreams and hopes have died. We can no longer ignore the island of Grand Bahama, nor some of the other family islands in our nation. Since 2004, Bahamians have been leaving the island in droves, all seeking a better way of life in terms of jobs, better opportunities, and business ventures. We have to stop this bleeding. Grand Bahama can be better, and we can make it better, and we will make it better. Madam President, the time has come for us to give Grand Bahama a fighting chance. I want to end with a quote from the newly appointed Minister of Sports, the Honorable Mario Boleg, who on his first official trip or visit to Grand Bahama to tour the sporting facility said this: Grand Bahama is a sleeping giant. It is time to wake up that sleeping giant. I agree, Madam President. It is time to awaken the sleeping giant called Grand Bahama. Thank you, Madam President, for this opportunity. I wish the government of the Bahamas success with its blueprint for change agenda, and I ask that God, who is Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, continue to bless us all and bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Thank you, Honorable Senator.
Madam President, I rise on a point of order. I did not wish to interfere with the Honorable Senator on
First recognize you.
his maiden verge. Yes, ma'am.
The chair recognizes Honorable Senator Darren Henfield.
Thank you very much. I did not wish to interfere with the Honorable Senator on his maiden verge, and he was full flight. But I find it difficult to leave on the record the assertion that the airport in Grand Bahama was purchased for $1. And there was an assertion made that there may have been something else about the runway. I just wanted to correct the record and say that the airport and the runway all came as one package for $1. And I did not wish to leave that on the record as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. As many, Senator the Honorable Viana Gardner.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I would like publicly to acknowledge and to give God thanks for the opportunity to serve in this chamber amongst honorable senators, to carry out a different kind of work for the Bahamian people. I've always had a heart for serving the Bahamian people. Fresh from university, I chose to work for the government rather than accept offers to work in the private sector. I believe that for everything there is a season, a time for every activity. Each major decision in my life, I believe to have been directed by God or allowed by God. Madam President, for their boundless love and support, I wish to thank my husband, Wendell Gardner, Madam President, who surprised me today, and I saw him snuck in a little while ago. Big surprise. But he is a pillar of strength, Madam President, and I appreciate him. Also, my children, Ariel and William, my mother, and all others in my family. I also wish to thank my church family, the East Street Cathedral Church of God. During my early teens, my professional and political aspirations were indelibly shaped during my early tutelage at Arlington, Butler & Co. I guess, Madam President, you can say that's where the flame was found. Since my youth, I've served the Bahamian public. In that regard, I've worked under and alongside exceptional and dedicated public officers, including Marjorie Gilbert, Malvina Cash, may her soul rest in peace, Teresa Butler, and Her Excellency A. Missouri Sherman Peter. I had the privilege of working with former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Ingraham, during parts of 3 of his administrations. I have also worked closely with former Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis. As a matter of fact, I had the privilege of leading the innovative Prime Minister's Delivery Unit under his administration. I owe both Prime Ministers a tremendous debt of gratitude. I've also worked previously with the Honorable Alison Maynard Gibson, a person from whom I've learned much. I've worked with some members of this chamber, Madam President, including the Honorable Senators Henfield, Ramming, Halkitis, and Pinder, who's also a schoolmate twice over, Madam President. I've served on the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce Employers Confederation with the Honorable Senator Pickstock. I've mentioned the persons above, Madam President, to acknowledge that I am not who and where I am on my own accord, and to say that I am grateful to those who have played important roles in my personal and professional life. Madam President, during this term of government, the Bahamas will celebrate its 50th year of independence. While we will be looking back and celebrating, we will also be looking forward, eagerly anticipating the greatness of the next 50 years of our wonderful nation. Seated in this chamber and in that other place is a cadre of young, dynamic professionals on both sides. These are the minds and hands that will shape the next half a century. Many of us are entering frontline politics for the very first time. And while we have the benefit of being able to lean on the accomplishments and wisdom and understanding of those who have gone before us, the coming years will place incredible pressure on us to deliver for our people. The dreams and aspirations of Bahamians demand of us a high level of competence and productivity, directed by clear vision and a sense of shared destiny. It is that competence which we in the opposition are committed to demonstrate and which we demand of the government. While it is acknowledged political theory that the opposition has its say and the government has its way, we intend to speak and act in the interest of the Bahamian people. We will work with the government to produce legislation that furthers national progress, that meets national needs, and that places the Bahamas firmly on a footing to approach its national destiny with confidence. We will hold the government strictly to account. The Bahamian people expect competence, and we will not accept less. Madam President, it is my firm intention as I enter service in this place to be a source for potential solutions to the problems that plague our nation. In that regard, I take note of the desire for transformational change expressed in the speech from the throne. Transformational change is easy to say, but difficult to accomplish. It requires knowledge of both your present circumstance and your desired outcome. It is an amalgam of strategy, methodology, target setting, and prioritization. Transformational change requires data. It is the realm of key performance indicators, and it ought to have as its objective delivering results that have a beneficial impact for our citizens. It is precisely this objective that guided the Prime Minister's delivery unit during the Minnis administration. A delivery unit is a small group of trained persons who work at the center of government to help ministries and departments of government achieve specific outcomes for targeted initiatives or top priorities within expected timelines. The speech from the throne identified a number of priorities also shared by the previous administration. As an example, I was pleased to see in the speech from the throne that legislation is proposed to secure universal preschool education for 3- and 4-year-olds. Universal preschool education was a priority of the F&M administration. Year over year, approximately 1,000 new seats were provided for by the government outside of the COVID interruption. Additionally, approximately 40 grants were awarded in amounts up to $25,000 for expansions and refurbishment of existing private preschools to better facilitate accommodating and instructing preschoolers. I also note the intention in the speech from the throne to introduce legislation to facilitate a comprehensive program of digitization for the country. At present, there are approximately 43,000 users on the My Gateway platform, with approximately 25 services being provided, including driver's license renewals, birth and death certificates, and e-passports. The digitization program of the Free National Movement Administration has been dynamic and successful. I would caution the new administration, as they introduce legislation in this area, that they take care not to stifle the current momentum by introducing hoops and hurdles and complicated decision-making structures. Madam President, as part of the loyal opposition, I have been assigned to shadow the Honorable Minister of Housing and Transport as well as the Honorable Minister of Environment and Natural Resources. Madam President, the Ministry of Housing and Transport addresses some of the most basic needs experienced by Bahamians: the need for shelter and security, and the right and ability of unrestricted safe movement through our nation. Housing is fundamental to human empowerment. While transport and transportation systems are about long-term vision, impacting people and products, and of how easy it is to live and prosper on our islands, I count it an honor to be able to assist in refining legislation and policies aimed at these cornerstone issues. Madam President, the topic of housing has been very popular during this debate, in that other place as well as in this chamber. I believe that that is indicative of the fact that there is no disagreement across the aisle on the position in the speech from the throne that housing is considered a fundamental right. However, the speech from the throne clearly demonstrates the Davis administration's intention to build houses. I wish only to admonish the government to take care to avoid some of the pitfalls the F&M administration discovered on coming to office in 2017, such as shoddily constructed houses that were overpriced. They should be careful to hold contractors to account for industry standard work and pricing. I have been asked numerous questions regarding the hotly discussed Prospect Ridge project. I've limited my response to one written statement, which, Madam President, I will beg leave to lay at the end of my presentation. I want only to highlight a few points from the statement. By all accounts, the community was advanced further and faster than any similar subdivision, having only been conceptualized earlier this year. And it was catapulted in that way, Madam President, because it was brought into the delivery unit system, which came up with strategies to cause it to move more quickly than it would ordinarily have done in a ministry context. The government retained a private environmentalist to carry out the environmental impact assessment. I will add, Madam President, that having an EIA executed on a government subdivision is not a common step, but because of the increased emphasis placed on protecting the environment and concerns, not to repeat exactly what was called out, Pinewood Gardens, an EIA was commissioned. The Department of Environmental Planning and Protection reviewed the EIA and provided its comments to the Office of the Prime Minister. Madam President, these were consistent with comments presented in that other place. The Honorable Minister of Housing has persistently taken a position that uses the work under the former government to support an argument that no work was done or seeks to minimize the work that was done by the former government. Madam President, it is beyond me to disentangle the circular nature of that argument. I do hope, however, that the longer the Honorable Minister is in her post, the more the amount of work that goes into a subdivision development would become clear, and that she would have a better appreciation of just how far advanced the project was in comparison to similar projects that have literally taken many more years to advance. But most importantly, Madam President, I believe that the Bahamian people have had their fill of this subject. Where we are now is needing less talk and more work. The political campaign is over. The ball is now in the administration's court. Madam President, the Honorable Minister of Housing and Transport commented in her contribution on the resolution before the government in that other place that the government is looking for additional land for housing developments. The opposition and the people of the Bahamas will be watching to see whether the administration uses government land that the former F&M administration intended to practically give away to Bahamian people across the islands, or whether they will purchase land from private citizens, and at what price, and whether or not the price would be one that causes the overall construction to be sky high. Madam President, regarding the environment and natural resources, a subject that I love, I am a proud member of the Bahamas National Trust and formerly of the Adastra Gardens because of my family's and my love for the flora and fauna of our country. As a teenager, I was able to swim in the area of the Andros Barrier Reef, replete with a rainbow of coral and wildlife. I've traveled around the world, and I've seen nothing more breathtaking with my naked eyes. The only thing that competes is also in the Bahamas, the Exuma Keys with their incredible sandbank and crystalline cerulean waters that must be seen to be believed. I love the summer months when the Ponciana are in bloom, arching over the streets and creating the iconic canopy of vibrant red. It is no wonder Eddie Minnis painted the scene so frequently. And then there are the mangroves of the Berry Islands, and I'm still looking forward to seeing with my own eyes, God's willing, the wild seahorses in Sweeting Pond in North Eleuthera and flamingos in Inagua. I love my country, Madam President. But today, however, in some areas, there are fewer and fewer birds. Walking on the beaches affected by erosion, there are fewer and fewer sea biscuits and sand dollars to be seen and enjoyed. The speech from the throne recommitted the Bahamas to a minimum reliance on renewable energy of 30% energy supply from renewable means by 2030. This commitment was made at the Conference of the Parties, 2015 in Paris, where the first international climate change agreement was made. The government will find willing allies on this point. It was a priority of the former administration, where the government pursued the small-scale renewable energy program. Hundreds of Bahamians now have solar installations on their homes as a result of this program. Some are even feeding energy back to the grid and receiving credit for it. The successful development of the Ragged Island Renewable Microgrid, which is ready for commissioning and which has already begun to run the entire Ragged Island on solar power for a number of days. The Anatole Rogers School with 250 kilowatts solar retrofit. The solar car park at the National Stadium, which also feeds the grid. The former government advanced the 500 kilowatt solar park at the Office of the Prime Minister, as well as the Abaco microgrid project with the IDB, where 5 sites have been identified for development of solar microgrids to protect power supply at critical sites in the event of power interruption due to a natural disaster. Madam President, I commend Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis for the bold and strong statement made at the 26th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or COP26. I was proud as a Bahamian. We in the opposition and the Bahamian people will be looking to learn what was accomplished, however, at COP26 in Glasgow. What concerns me, Madam President, are the Bahamas' comments emanating from Glasgow that were not from a prepared text, but rather from interviews and panels. We have all probably by now seen and heard the unfortunate gaffe by the Honorable Minister of State for the Environment, who, when asked about oil drilling in the Bahamas, sought to excuse what looked like his lack of preparation by claiming that the new government had yet to take a position on the issue. Madam President, how does one attend such an elite gathering, perhaps the most important environmental conference, and not have a specific position on a topic as crucial as oil drilling? Oil drilling that induces who knows what into the Earth's surface. During His Excellency's reading of the speech from the throne, I raised an eyebrow when he said, "My government will secure carbon credit payments for our natural resources." My immediate thought was that this sounded meaningful, particularly considering the F&M administration's recent participation in the Queen's Commonwealth Canopy, dedicating the Blue Hole Conservation Forest in Abaco of approximately 32,000 acres as part of our National Forestry Conservation Strategy. I queried, though, why was carbon credit payments featured so prominently in the speech from the throne? It became clearer as the Honorable Prime Minister was interviewed in Glasgow and then again on returning to the Bahamas. He said that his administration was considering replacement of the thought of drilling not drilling itself, but the thought of drilling with monetizing our carbon credits. In each interview, he distinguished between oil drilling and exploiting and offered as a possibility drilling, but capping any oil supplies that may be found to allow the Bahamas to monetize through carbon credits, i.e., get paid by more industrialized nations or parties to tap any oil supply we might have. To not tap, any oil supply we might have. We in the opposition are not persuaded that companies who have been pursuing finding and exploiting oil in the Bahamas would spend millions merely to drill to determine if oil is in our waters, with no intention of going forward. For the Bahamas to then just cap this supply if it exists. The opposition and the Bahamian people will be watching very closely to see not what the government says on this issue, but what the government actually does on this issue. Madam President, I would like to commend you for your elevation to the office of President of this august chamber. At this time in our history, the significance of there being females sitting in the respective chair of Speaker and President for each House of Parliament cannot be overstated. As I began my contribution, Madam President, I reiterate here that we are on the brink of the next 50 years of our history as an independent nation. At the end of that 50 years, my daughter, God willing, will be 70. It is my hope that by that time, it will no longer be a headline, that there are a certain number of females in Parliament or 2 females sitting as chairs. You, as well as leaders like the Honorable Italia Johnson and Dame Doris Johnson, you have broken the ceiling for us. It is my hope that by then our country would have seen and benefited from more female deputy prime ministers to join the achievement of the Honorable Cynthia Mother Pratt, and acting prime ministers like the Right Honorable Dame Janet Bostwick and Mother Pratt. It is my hope that by then our country would have already ushered in esteemed female prime ministers, that competence and not gender would be the focus of popular discussion. Madam President, as I end, around the time of our country's 40th year of independence, I was caught up in a throng of hundreds of new jubilant employees of a touristic property. They were so happy and excited about their new jobs, and I was truly pleased for them, don't get me wrong. However, I stopped where I was on the street, sat on the sidewalk, and wept. I wept because after 40 years of independence, our people were still jubilant about occupying the same kind of jobs our grandparents occupied. Today, I wish that after the next 50-year period, we will be as progressive a nation as our potential fully allows. The Singapore of the Western Hemisphere, so to speak. This begins with the children. And that's why universal preschool education is so important. There would be a full generation of persons educated from ages 3 and 4. Madam President, the loyal opposition stands ready to assist the new administration and also to resist the new administration where necessary for the betterment of Bahamians. Madam President, before I take my seat, I want to add my voice to the cries for justice for the precious toddler who met her demise on Friday, baby Bella. As you saw from my presentation, Madam President, it was always my intent to focus on the importance of 3- and 4-year-olds, the importance of educating them. Madam President, I have been in youth ministry for approximately 25 years. The majority of that with children aged 5 and under. The pain I felt was as if it was one of my own. I tried to block the thoughts, but my heart burned in anger dwelled in me. And I want us to use that anger and outrage and frustration that we have to do good. I will lend my voice and influence to bring justice for her and all of our children, to protect our children, our future. I want to thank you, Madam President. You said that you'd express condolences on all of our behalf to the family, and I would like to thank you for thinking to do so. Madam President, I support the resolution to thank the Governor General, His Excellency, the Honorable Cornelius Smith, for the speech from the throne. May God continue to bless our Bahama land. Madam President, I beg leave to lay the statement that I had issued on the table.
Order the document be brought up.
Thank you, Madam President.
Order that the document do lie on the table. Thank you, Honorable Senator. As many the chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Ronald Duncan.
Madam President, I rise in this historic and most honorable place to thank His Excellency, the Governor General, Sir Cornelius Smith, for his speech from the throne. Madam President, allow me to this opportunity to formally congratulate you in your appointment as President of the Senate. You joined a growing list of distinguished women, going back to Dame Doris Johnson, who had the honor to serve as president in this noble body. I'm grateful to the Honorable Prime Minister for reposing confidence in me by way of appointment to this chamber. This confidence that the Prime Minister has in my colleagues and I, by appointment, is not mere reward. It's rather an expectation of our commitment, hard work, service, integrity, and the assurance of debate that assist and encourage a nation. Madam President, the confidence displayed to all of us can be enjoyed and sustained through evidence that we maintain the high standard of our nation that we deserve and that we require of us. This must be contained in our mindsets. Therefore, Madam President, I'm humbled, thankful, and prayerful about being here to serve. Humbled because I know that there were many others who, too, can be where I'm at today. Thankful, Madam President, because I have tremendous opportunity to serve my people. I am prayerful because it's only through the help, strength, and grace of the Almighty God that any of us realize what our purpose is. Madam President, purpose is indeed what I hope to achieve. When I take stock of my life's journey, I am certain that it was indeed the grace of God that has kept me to this moment. It's by His grace and mercy that I've continued to go through. I'm grateful to God for my parents, Norma Duncan and the late Norman Duncan. They by no means were perfect, but I thank God for what they meant to me and for the sacrifice for myself and my siblings for the upkeep of my future. I am the man I am today and the man I endeavor to be tomorrow because of them. Madam President, I also would like to honor and give thanks and appreciation to a family that my God has blessed me with. In the Bahamas, family means so much to all of us. No matter the size of the household, no matter the distance between us, family is family. God indeed has blessed me with an amazing wife, my darling, lovely wife, Tanya. With my brilliant, supportive children, Robin, Ryan, Amber, and Serenity. And may God continue to bless my household and yours. Madam President, please allow me to acknowledge the people of the constituency of Kalani, those citizens and residents who have shown me that Bahamian spirit of hospitality and decency is still alive in our thriving nation. As I worked as a candidate in Kalani, as I received and responded to phone calls, email, WhatsApp, texts, hi, hello, I shared many conversations with respectable and engaging electorates, people who care about their communities, who care about our economy, people who care about safety. Most importantly, Madam President, those were people who care for others, not only themselves. My commitment and connection to Kalani goes beyond being a candidate. I'm a resident and a friend. Madam President, my relationship with Plans for Kalani have developed out of the many conversations with my fellow neighbors and residents. I thank them for their support, their votes, and their time. My conversations and connection will continue to be further developed into a constituency and a community that we love to see. We are Kalani United. Madam President, at Proverbs 13, chapter, verse 22, Solomon states, "A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children." The late Dr. Miles Monroe, in his book, Understanding the Purpose and Power of Men, at the 14th chapter, references the same voice. Dr. Monroe, when writing about the voice, gave a very interesting and thought-provoking view when he says, I like that. A good man doesn't think about the past. He thinks about the future. A good man doesn't leave an inheritance of just money and land. That's not only the inheritance Solomon was talking about. He's talking about heritage, something to stand on, something to lean on throughout life. Madam President, Dr. Monroe, our internationally acclaimed preacher, teacher, and philosopher, was a wise man indeed. He penned many books, articles, and sermons that we can turn to for guidance, reassurance, and clarity in some of our life's challenges and challenging situations. May he rest in peace. Madam President, when we speak of the future, we speak of inheritance to be left for our children's children. It's inclusive of all of us and all of our children. Each Bahamian and each and every one of their offsprings are entitled to confidence and comfort in a promising future and great inheritance. Therefore, Madam President, I have listened and enjoyed reading the speech from the throne delivered by our Governor General. It's indeed a speech that I found to be very progressive, engaging, liberal, encouraging, and one that includes all parts of parties for our Bahamas. Madam President, please allow me to draw your attention ever so briefly to some of the province made in the speech. Madam President, I welcome and applaud the confirmation that our government will increase the benefits for persons with disabilities and ensure that provisions of Persons with Disabilities Equal Opportunities Act are fully implemented and enforced. Madam President, this is great news. The Bahamas has always welcomed persons to our shores to partake in all that we have to offer, whether they be tourist or investor. It's now the time for us to ensure that we lead the way in being more accommodating and welcoming to our own citizens, whether they seek to enjoy life during leisure or their occupation. This, Madam President, ensures an inheritance and an opportunity for all our children, no matter their situation, to realize that we prepare a place that is their own in the future. The full implementation and enforcement of rules and policy to see our citizens maximize their full potential, no matter their physical inability is met. Madam President, I'm well impressed and encouraged that a government will amend the Hotels Engagement Act to provide better initiatives for Bahamian-owned and joint venture boutique hotels and related to tourism offerings. Madam President, I am both a product and a producer of the best tourism product in the world, which is the Bahamas. This government's confidence in and support for Bahamians is evident by the commitment to amending of the Hotels Encouragements Act. By facilitating and encouraging Bahamian-owned and joint venture hotels, related tourism offerings, we see and feel the vote of confidence in every jet ski operator, every straw vendor, every housekeeper, every bellman, every chef, every barman, and most of all, something that's passionate to me, every taxi driver. Each and every one of us as Bahamians who make up the best product in the world are being encouraged not to only be the product, but to truly own the product. It's only through true ownership and further development of the tourism product that we grow our children's inheritance. Madam President, there's so much to do here in New Providence and throughout our family islands. The speech from the throne delivers an ambitious yet achievable framework for growing our nation and including us in its progress. However, Madam President, I was especially encouraged when the speech made us aware that our government would capitalize on the ongoing access in the industrial sector of Grand Bahama and use the investment arm of the Ministry of Grand Bahama to create a one-stop shop to attract new local and foreign investment by way of duty-free concession across the entire island. This, Madam President, is what Grand Bahama needs. It's not only positive for foreign investor, but it places emphasis on rolling out the red carpet for the local investor. Those of us who have long seen the vision for the development of Grand Bahama and tired or tried the measures and mechanics that blocked us from seeing the plans for the dreams to come true, this, Madam President, is ensuring that our children's appreciate that we grew their inheritance. Madam President, we have all been affected by COVID-19. Some of us suffered, are still infected. Often, sometimes, personally, I've lost someone to COVID, a dear brother of mine, and it's just happened so tragically. So this one is definitely passionate to me. The fact that our government, especially drawn on the provision of the speech that it states that our government would ensure that the gap in access to education caused by COVID-19 provision protocol is closed with a comprehensive program to ensure that no child is left behind. Yes, Madam President, the best inheritance that we can ensure is good education. COVID-19 has affected the way that all our children receive educational instructions, socialize, and impress themselves. Our government's commitment to closing the gap in access to education caused by COVID is not only necessary, but vital to our country's future success. Madam President, once again, I'm humbled to be a part of this upper chamber. I commit myself to being with you and my colleagues as we forge ahead with spirited debates on issues, such debate not externally about issues of the past, but forward-thinking, inspiring, and achievable results. Madam President, I'm optimistic about the provisions made in the speech from the throne. It has allowed many to understand our children's future. Their children's future, and certainly our own futures, are not simply tied to money and land, but to opportunities for the safe enjoyment and good quality of life. Madam President, while the speech from the throne is a distant, apolitical creature, it's brilliantly embraced the tone and tenor of the Progressive Liberal Party's blueprint for change. The philosophy, characteristics of the Progressive Liberal Party must come to life. Through the execution of the speech commitment, motivations, and national directions, the speech from the throne is a speech by Bahamians, for Bahamians now and into the future. God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. As many. The chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Quentin Lightburn.
Madam President, it is an honor to speak in this upper house this evening. Firstly, as a Bahamian, and secondly, as a millennial. It is with great humility and thankfulness to God that I contribute to this chamber for the very first time in response to the speech from the throne. It would be remiss of me to not congratulate my fellow Senate colleagues on their appointments as well. And to you, I say congratulations. But to you, Madam President, I express direct congratulations, as I anticipate that your wisdom and grace will ensure that contributions in this chamber will be done so in an orderly and productive manner. I stand here this evening on the shoulders of many great Bahamian men and women who have graced these hallowed chambers decades before me. Men like Sean McQueenie, QC, who sat in this upper house at the age of 35 as the youngest Attorney General ever in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. His words of wisdom and advice to me was simply put God first, the nation second, and yourself dead last. That has resonated with me as a man that will serve my country to the very end. To my father and mother, who have been my pillars of strength in my darkest hours, along with my beautiful sisters, Christiane, Ashley, Megan, Jennaria, I am eternally grateful. I have an endless village of support that continues to motivate and guide me along the way. And I say to you all, thank you. Madam President, I would also like to express my gratitude to the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Philip Brave Davis, for appointing me as a government senator. He has given this young man who grew up in Flamingo Gardens a voice for the voiceless and those sometimes overlooked in our nation. The Prime Minister has bestowed his trust in me and has allowed me to sit at the decision-making table for this country. And for that, I am thankful. I represent a generation of progressive thinkers who seek to modernize, digitalize, and revolutionize all aspects of our country to make it better. Not just for ourselves, but for future generations. I chose to offer insight instead of insult during my tenure in this noble chamber. Despite the many downfalls of the previous administration, I choose to look ahead to the possibilities of our new day under the Davis administration. It is our role as the new government to shepherd the country into the promise of that new day. I will also not engage the politically motivated naysayers, but will instead focus on substantive debates. I take the business of this country very seriously. Madam President, I am of the school of thought that the fastest way to grow our economy is to stimulate foreign direct investments and make local investments viable for all. This government is committed to streamlining all processes and making it easier to do business in the Bahamas. Digital transformation and the ease of doing business complement one another. If we do this seriously, we must be able to attract foreign investors while empowering local entrepreneurs, because this is the key to our success. This New Day government is committed to holding weekly National Economic Council meetings to clear the backlog of projects seeking approval. A revamped Bahamas Investment Authority will enhance their promotional and marketing strategy to tap into various sectors such as manufacturing, agriculture, and alternative energy markets. These will focus along the touristic aspect of our country, will definitely take our country forward. As we plan and will establish Bahamas Invest, which will consist of a compliance, processing, and promotional strategy team with emphasis on Grand Bahama as well. We will not be Nassau-centric and will develop a strategy for all 17 inhabited islands throughout our country. This government has taken the bold initiative to combine both tourism and investments because they both complement each other. A new look at how investments are done in our country is on the way, with sophisticated databases to meet the technical capacity for investments worldwide. A revamped national investment policy and framework will bolster the country's attraction to high-quality foreign investors. This is a major undertaking involving the ease of doing business, island-specific development and investment plans, amended trade and intellectual property laws, revamping concession and incentives, and renewed domestic and global marketing strategies. We believe that our efforts in this area will produce a huge return on the investment of our country. A great passion of mine has been the southeastern Bahamas. This government will encourage renewable energy industries and offshore wind, wave, and ocean thermal energy. These groundbreaking initiatives are what those southern islands need to ease the burden of everyday life. There are endless opportunities for solar energy parks throughout the southern islands to fight against global warming and reduce our national emissions level. I will work along with my colleague, the Minister of Economic Affairs and Leader of Government Business in the Senate, Senator the Honorable Michael Alcides, to resolve the limited access to cash in Auckland's Crooked Island and Maiguana. It is with great honor that I sit alongside Senator Alcides in this chamber to learn and assist in managing the economic affairs of this country through prudence and transparency. I stand here as a representation of my generation and the role we will play in the future development of this country. And I don't take that responsibility lightly. The Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Culture will be groundbreaking in so many ways during this administration. The people of the Bahamas have given us a mandate to unite, empower, and develop the youth of our nation. The Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Culture has proposed, in the spirit of unity and showcasing our sports prowess, the relaunch of the Bahamas Games every 2 years. This relaunch is a matter of national interest, as these games are being planned as the Golden Jubilee Games in July of 2023, to coincide and commemorate the 50th anniversary of our country's independence. The Bahamas Games will promote the kind of social and cultural integration that enhances nation building and country unity. But I can say this, I remember as a teenager in 2001, watching the last Bahama Games on ZNS, hoping and praying to one day be able to participate in those games. I saw the joy and excitement on the faces of so many Bahamians at the Kendall Geologics Gymnasium as Dexter Cambridge led a Luther to the basketball championships. I remember Edney the Heat Bethel on the mound and Dara Ranger on the plate, battling pitch by pitch, blow by blow. Watching all of those great sporting events gave me a greater sense of pride to be a Bahamian. It encouraged so many and encouraged myself to represent their true islands of heritage. But I can guarantee you all in here and the general public at large that I will be on that Mike Hall basketball team in 2023. We may all, but I must say, we may have a tall task against Grand Bahama. But I'm sure once Buddy Hield doesn't return, we'll be in good shape. The election on September 16, 2021 was a clear indication by the people of the Bahamas that they wanted change. The Bahamian people want a government that is compassionate and listens to their concerns, not a government that only looks out for a small few in elite circles. This New Day government will introduce a first job program, a national mentorship program, and a second chance program to help the youth of our nation. This New Day government will ensure that Bahamians can hold their heads up high with dignity despite challenges experienced. This New Day government will wipe the tears from each eye and bring relief to those who need it because it is the right thing to do. The Prime Minister is a man for the people, Some may say he has a heart of gold, but he is also a man who has shown his commitment and love for all Bahamians over 25 years of service in public life. The Second Chance program will expunge the records of young Bahamians who were convicted of minor offenses related to possession of marijuana. Far too long, Bahamians have had to carry the burden of a major charge on their police record, which prevented them from attaining certain jobs and privileges in their own country. This new day government will bring that to an end. Being a financial professional in the pensions and investments field, I am elated that this government will seek to establish a pension fund for athletes who have represented the country internationally. Such a pension plan is needed to provide additional incentives for Bahamian athletes when they represent us on the world stage. This government has already increased pension benefits for over 7,000 public service pensioners as of October 1st, 2021. It is clearly a new day in the Bahamas. Our educational system will see a revolution as this government will revamp the curriculum to include Bahamian culture and history. It is our responsibility to ensure that generations of Bahamians are knowledgeable about the Burma Road Riot of 1942, the General Strike of 1958, the women's suffrage movement, and majority rule on January 10, 1967. Those events are basic tenets of what makes us all proud Bahamians. Education is still the key to unlocking a better life for Bahamians. It is the greatest equalizer and bedrock of all progress and prosperity of a nation. Studies have shown that every year of school that a child completes, their lifetime earnings increase as well. This strong correlation indicates that educational outcomes and life outcomes are closely linked. I would wager to say that the opposite correlation is true. For every year of a school student doesn't complete, we have a greater chance of seeing a negative outcome in that child's life. This is why second chance programs are so important. I must say, I am a testament of second chance programs because if I did not have those persons that looked out for me, I would not be here this evening. That is also why it must be best that we do things right the first time and not rely on remediation. The Minister of Education, Honorable Glennisana Martin, is poised to shift the culture and morale of education in our country. She will refocus this country and push for the advancements of the arts program at the University of the Bahamas and at high school levels. Emphasis on the performing arts such as dance, theater, cinematography, and those are what is needed to progress our country. We also need to focus more on technical and vocational training, as well as technologically related skills that can future prepare young people for emerging markets and opportunities. Everyone doesn't want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant. And you don't have to be one of those or be one of those professions to be successful and be a positive contributor to our society. I look forward to the results of the audit that is being conducted to discover why so many children are missing from virtual classes and what we can do to fix it. Even after in-person classes resume, there will be a need for remediation for that population. It is a critical issue that the government must address, and I am confident that the Honorable Minister and Minister of State are up to the task. I speak from a national perspective in this upper house because Bahamians and all Bahamians are my constituents. As we continue to fight through this pandemic and rebuild our economy, I can assure the Bahamian people that this government will guide us through this storm. I was guided yesterday by my church family at Abundant Life Bible Church to remain humble. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 3-4 reads, "Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace." I will remain humble in this house, and I will lean on my knowledge, but I will be guided by the direction of God. We are at a critical juncture as a nation. The hard times that we've experienced through Dorian and now COVID-19 have hurt us but they've also opened up our eyes to the reality. The reality is that we have many fragilities in our economy, our public health system, our communities, our social support systems, and archaic government processes. These crises have taken such a toll that we now have a moral obligation to act and guide and lead our country ahead. To fail to be bold in this moment will be to invite future failures. That is not a future I nor my Senate colleagues are willing to accept. And that is why we joined this New Day government to deliver the change the Bahamas so desperately needs. I say to you all, thank you for this opportunity once again, and God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Thank you, Honorable Member. As many. The chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Randy Roll.
How do you recognize real change when you see it? Madam President, I am truly honored to stand here on this August occasion and to express my thankfulness to God for placing me here in this season on this new day. I rise to thank His Excellency the Governor General for his delivery of the speech from the throne on behalf of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I wish in the presence of all assembled here to congratulate our Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis, on our party's victory at the polls on the 16th of September, 2021. I would also like to express my humility for his confidence in affording me the opportunity to serve at his pleasure in this vulnerable chamber. Prime Minister Davis is no stranger to governance. For 30 plus years, he has ignited the Bahamian people like a sudden burst of energy in the 20th round of a boxing slugout with no holds barred. Madam President, I firmly believe that with the blueprint for change as its compass, our country is now headed in the right direction. Madam President, I would also like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to our Deputy Prime Minister and co-pilot, the Honorable Chester Cooper, for personally encouraging me to always give 200%. He has impressed upon me the importance of being resilient, which has also become a trademark for Bahamians everywhere as we fight the many challenges that confront us today. We shall not only survive, but we shall indeed thrive. To our senior parliamentarians, the Honorable Glennis Hannah Martin, the Dr. Michael Darville, the Honorable Alfred Says, my childhood friend, he was here earlier, the Honorable Ryan Pinder. I stand here in continuous gratitude for their wise counsel and guidance. To the former Prime Minister and leader of the PLP, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, I am forever grateful for my first opportunity to serve in public life, and additionally for his support over the years. I would like to extend gratitude to the many persons who have supported me over the years, far too numerous to mention, but you all know who you are. For those who did not support me, for whatever reason, I shall work twice as hard to win your support, and I thank you also. Madam President, before I go on, I wish to acknowledge my family. Although very small in numbers, they certainly mean everything to me. They sacrificed for me, cried with me, and when I needed support, they celebrated me through it all. They never left my side. I am forever grateful. Madam President, we were sent here to do the people's business and to act on their behalf and in the best interest of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I do not take this privilege for granted. Undoubtedly, there is much work to be done. The misery index in our country has grown rapidly over the last few years due to a number of issues ranging from COVID-19 to unprecedented restrictions, to price hikes for groceries, to losing one's secure job, to many becoming homeless and having to resort to living in their cars. Madam President, I am keenly aware of so many sad scenarios. A young mother goes to the food store, gets to the cash register, and from one small basket must decide what to take home and what to put back because of a lack of funds. Many Bahamians, mothers like this one, were ready for a new day. A 4.0 college student in his third year of university with less than 20 credits left to complete his degree must reluctantly take a break and now find a job just so that he can help his parents put food on the table. Many Bahamian students like this one were ready for a new day. A father comes home feeling weak and slightly ill, uncertain of what is going on with him, frightened that there's a possibility that he may have COVID-19, but because of a lack of food on the table for his family and with a savings account nearly depleted, he still risks going into the office. Many Bahamian fathers like this one were ready for a new day. Since my good Senate brother is here, the president of the Honorable Reuben Ramming, I will refer to a grandmother living in a low-lying area that almost certain to flood as she nervously anticipates a storm that is coming. She's once again faced with the risk of great loss or even death. Many Bahamian grandmothers like this one were ready for a new day. In fact, it seemed like with every passing week, Bahamians were ready to embrace a new day. And now that day is finally upon us. A new day with a new government that is ready and capable of taking the country in a new direction. Madam President, I repeat as I started, how do you recognize real change when you see it? Simply put, the answer is just look at our blueprint for change. The Davis administration has a plan for real change, a plan to invest in our people, a plan to grow our economy, and as I can attest, having been given the opportunity to work along with our Deputy Prime Minister and the fine men and women who serve under his direction, a plan to expand and grow international partnerships. We will accomplish this task by strengthening our global relations for the benefit of our tourism industry. To date, as the Deputy Prime Minister would have mentioned in his contribution to the resolution, we already secured direct flights from Miami, Charlotte, Orlando, New York, DC, Dallas, and Philadelphia. Airlines such as Frontier and Southwest are scheduling direct flights to and from Nassau, Eleuthera, and Exuma. Nonetheless, this is just a tip of the iceberg for what this new government has in store for the Bahamian people. Partnerships and initiatives that we have established with cruise lines in the past few months have increased tremendously. From now until December, 300 cruise ships are scheduled to call on the Bahamas, which will positively impact our recovering economy and boost our international partnerships. As a consultant to the minister, I will help to facilitate relationship building between local businesses and international cruise lines. To achieve this goal, however, it requires commitment and focus to simply make things happen. Madam President, currently the Bahamas government operates overseas offices, whether Bahamas Tourist Office or Consulate Office in Miami, Plantation, Atlanta, DC, and New York, and that's just in the US alone. I was able to bridge the gap between those two government agencies in 2014 when I had the opportunity to serve as Consul General in the Southwest United States. This resulted in a harmonious work environment, which enabled us to achieve our common goals. As I serve in the Office of Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments, and Aviation, I pledge to maintain my role as a connector uniting entities to efficiently and effectively work together. At any rate, the ease of doing business, as the Deputy Prime Minister noted, should be felt by anyone seeking to establish business partnerships with the Bahamas overseas. Digitalization, migration of the impact of international initiatives, streamlining the procedures and processes of the Registrar General's Office and the Department of Inland Revenue are initiatives that this administration will execute to drive foreign investment in the economy. Opportunities for more local investment along with foreign investment are equally as essential to growing our overall economy. As stated in the Blueprint for Change, technology, renewable energy, sustainable tourism, the green, blue, and orange economies will advance and empower the citizens of our country. I am confident and proud of the efforts that will be made under this administration to build on the synergy to make doing business with the Bahamas feel like a one-stop shop. Madam President, under the Ministry of Tourism, Investments, and Aviation, planning has started to equip consulate offices to accommodate and expand international investor relationships so that our jurisdiction remain competitive with the rest of the world. We are still under COVID restrictions, but we must position ourselves to remain competitive by building relationships where not only sports and college teams visit our islands, but also by securing opportunities for local talents to participate in the international arena. To our local artists, this Davis-led government has you on its top priorities. It is committed to building a national recording studio and national performance arts centers through public-private partnerships for artists to produce top-of-the-line music and other projects. This administration understands the importance of Bahamians having proper facilities to expand the creative and entertainment industries. We will work closely along with the Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Culture to facilitate sports federations that may wish to host events in our destination, thus putting more heads in beds. The tourism sector is looking forward to the return of the IAAF World Relays. Pre-COVID, the Bahamas hosted 3 editions of the 2-day championships in 2014 and 2 more in 2015 and 2017. Hosting this event for those 3 years facilitated us in placing many heads in beds. I committed this administration's plan to revitalize the country's economy by tapping into various aspects of sports tourism. The Sports in Paradise relaunch is also a significant part of the plan to encourage major international sports federations and leagues to utilize the Bahamas as the place to host events, especially during the off-season in their home countries. Following the Olympic Games, the eyes of the world are on the Bahamas, a nation tiny in both size and population that has fielded top athletes, namely Shawnee Miller and Stephen Gardner, who both brought home gold medals for the country. We are in an advantageous position right now to relaunch the Sports in Paradise initiative to attract big name brand aspiring athletes and thousands of sports enthusiasts to our shores. Madam President, through an aggressive approach in building our international relationships, we will expand health, sports, medical, religion, and heritage tourism, which will in turn fuel the growth of Bahamian-owned business opportunities. Health is the wealth of any nation, and I am proud to echo the government's plan for new infrastructure for the health care sector. As noted in the speech from the throne, this government will build a new hospital in New Providence and Grand Bahama through public-private partnerships. Not only will this country finally get the resolution to previously ignored cries that we need a new hospital, but the Princess Margaret Hospital will also undergo much-needed renovations. For my brothers and sisters in the North, Brother Russell, Grand Bahama will finally get a new hospital that will serve as the medical hub for the entire Northern Bahamas, which will alleviate the stress and inconvenience of traveling to the capital for medical treatment. Completing an overhaul of all our healthcare infrastructure is extremely important for the welfare of our citizens and residents, but it is also impacts tourism. Prospective international travelers will view the Bahamas as a healthy, modern, and safe country to travel to. One of these new developments are underway. This leaves room for the Bahamas to capitalize off health tourism. Heritage tourism must be the priority in revamping our culture tourism product. For more than 45 years, the People-to-People program has connected visitors with locals through customized experiences, affording them the opportunity to become completely immersed in true Bahamian culture. Sadly, the pandemic has left travelers with only virtual means to enter the homes of Bahamians. In order to dance, cook, and learn our culture, I am sure many also look forward to returning to the in-person experience our visitors share and remember for a lifetime. Moreover, all monuments across the archipelago, like the Hermitage on Mount Alvernia, the Queen's Staircase, Blackbeard's Tower, and all of the forts in Nassau must be preserved to keep our national heritage vibrant and alive. With the help of UNESCO, this administration will preserve and promote the development of the material and cultural heritage resources to ensure that our culture tourism product is maintained. Madam President, the plans expressed in the speech from the throne and outlined in our blueprint for change established by this administration will leave the quality of life for Bahamians, invoke real Bahamian pride, bring citizens back to their roots through engagement with the schools, the church, arts, crafts, music, festivals, local products, and of course, tourism. Moving forward, Bahamians and colleagues, I am excited to share with you the benefit of this new day as we embark on the journey to bring about social, infrastructural, and economic change. The comprehensive plan will bring you a sense of joy, peace, and comfort. Unlike the previous administration, this government has not just a good plan, but a great plan. And by 2030, this country will be totally revamped, modernized, and physically stable. Other countries will look at us and follow in our footsteps of effective governance. In closing, I, Senator Randy Roll, stand before you to assure you of my diligence, my dedication, and my fairness in my assigned role. I assure you that I will do my utmost to consult and collaborate with the Minister on all things beneficial to my home, the beautiful nation of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I believe that this is the time to usher in new opportunities, new investments, and new tourism projects as we bring forth a new day for all Bahamians. Once again, thank you, Madam President, for allowing me to address all of you, my esteemed colleagues of the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. As many The chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Reuben Ramming.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise by the grace of God and for the good of our Commonwealth, and to participate, support, and extend my gratitude and appreciation to our Governor General for his reading of the speech from the throne as presented to him by Prime Minister Davis. Starting from that point in history, which the speech from the throne was read,
And being here for the first time in history, I look around at the walls and I see the photos of the great leaders and the reminders of history of those who would have gone before us. And I find it amazing because I believe, according to the tradition, just like all of us in the upper and lower house, we all started off at some point as novices. And it caused me to wonder, Madam Speaker, if we all come to a place where such serious business is done, where acts must be fulfilled and procedures followed for our laws to have its teeth and legitimacy, where does a group of novices, of which we all were at one point in time, find their guidance? And for that, Madam President, I feel it's fitting to pay tribute to the staff of this upper house and lower house, the individuals who have served this country for some great time. Madam President, this Parliament is run by a very small and tight-knit team of skilled professionals. It is truly unbelievable that they are able to keep this institution going without fumbling anywhere or anytime. Madam President, this institution that is boldly understaffed by any standard, and staff members frequently work late hours in the evenings just to keep the two houses going. On the 6th of October, 2021, the opening of the Parliament was removed from the actual precincts of the Parliament for the first time in recorded history. That must have taxed the team to their very limits, yet the entire program came off virtually wrinkle-free. Mr. Forbes and Ms. Lightburn commanded the proceedings in the precincts of the House, while Anthony Forbes, the editor of the Hansard, and Rashad Flowers commanded the proceedings in the precincts of the Senate. It was indeed a grand undertaking, and they pulled it off in grand style. Madam President, I want to commend this unique team for their fabulous job they have done. The team is headed by Mr. David Forbes as the Chief Clerk of Parliament. And I must add that he's a 40-year veteran of this place. I don't know if I could do anything for 40 years. And it is my understanding, because he's an affable man, very personable, and to everyone, that this, and I'm going to look at him for correction, was his only job or first job out of school. So if anybody said they have a calling, that must have been his calling to be at this place throughout this season. And truly he is, I think, a national treasure for such long service. He's ably assisted by the clerk, tabled by Miss Astria Lightburn and Mr. Rashad Flowers. Mrs. Ann Knowles is also deserving of a notable mention, but there are others behind the scenes who play their part, like Lorenzo Roca and Shanaro Davil and the Hansard team. Madam President, I want to go on record and to hold this team up as a standard by which all public officers should be judged. They approach their duty with enthusiasm, and they all seem very happy anytime you approach them for assistance, and they're always eager to help. to this entire parliamentary team, I stand here on my maiden speech to congratulate you for a job well done, because I have experienced you in the lower house and I have seen the consistency in the upper house. And I'm proud of you as Bahamians for the service you've rendered to this place. And if I stand alone, which I doubt I do, I again say thank you for making all of us and our roles shine, look, and become competent. Thank you very much for your service. Madam President, I speak to the points that was raised in the speech from the throne. And I sit back, though, and recall a statement made by my honorable brother, Barry Griffin. And I thought it was his exuberance and excitement, for which I know because I've been there. And I can appreciate when he shared and made the statement that every Bahamian woke up hopeful as it relates to this administration. And then I listened to the presentation of my brother here in this upper house, Mr. K. Russell, and you would struggle to find the hope and optimism amongst the Grand Bahamian people. But when Mr. Barry said that, the first thing came to my mind about everyone feeling hopeful and optimistic, I began to think of the dozens of airport authority hirings who would have gone through their training and are now sent home saying they're going to be reviewed. And I wonder how it felt to those persons who had been looking for opportunities for such a long time, that as soon as a new day happened, they are all sent to the line and have to wait for what's going on. And the thousands of public service persons who, because of the timing of their engagement, which would have given them hope, would find themselves now uncertain whether their advancements, their promotions, or even their considerations would stand in light of this new day. I'm just saying that because there's always two sides to every story. And those who feels it knows it. In a speech from the throne that was delivered, there were many optimistic statements that was presented, Madam President. Many of them caused me to smile, not egotistically, but actually happily, because they showed a continuation of things that has kept us as a country. It showed an appreciation for things that, though not publicly stated by the then opposition, is silently acknowledged through their actions. And we know, just as the staff of this house is continuous, so is government supposed to be continuous, and everything should not be turned on their head because everything is not bad. The government made a statement saying that the government fully understands that we cannot resolve our country's economic crisis until we resolve the health crisis. It says in the speech for the throne that COVID-19 crisis has exposed many of the weakness and vulnerability in our healthcare system. But when I look at the point where it says that we cannot resolve our country's economic crisis until we resolve the health crisis, I began to smile, and the first thing came to mind was, can we walk in true gum? Because that was the struggle and the reality of the former administration, who had to deal with both. Not coming at a tail end, not when there is sufficient vaccine for everyone and there's good uptake, but in the midst of something that blindsided the world and all of us and literally shut down our country till the government lost 75% of its projected revenue overnight consistently, and had to find a way in which we can, as a country, battle the health crisis and sustain the economy. We realize that, as my statement to Senator Barry in reference to the hope and happiness of people and the plight of the pain of those who would have lost their jobs or would have been set aside because of this administration. And I do not speak of political appointees or the traditional persons who we all must admit it is the proper thing to demit and move aside. I'm talking about the rank and file persons who would have gotten their jobs. We would have seen that we had to battle the crisis and maintain the economy in the midst of lost revenue. And one of the gracious decisions that was made was to not lay off civil servants anywhere in this country. Because at the least, if we can't do better for your homes, we will not do worse by setting you aside off your jobs. And so we held that line. And when the new administration came in, I began to wonder if COVID suddenly vanished because the policy of not laying off Bahamian citizens of any persuasion suddenly disappeared. And we see the evisceration, the extirpation of Bahamian citizens, and I'm not speaking of the political ilk and the natural processes of boarded appointments, et cetera, now set aside. That is torture. That policy could have at least been continued to show that we are really bipartisan.
Point of order, Madam President.
Senator Alcides, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. The Honorable Senator, by stating that the previous administration did not engage in layoffs, and then stating that that policy with the new day has seemingly been eviscerated, is suggesting that this new administration is laying off civil servants. I can say unequivocally, Madam President, that is not the case.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. Senator Ramming, do you have documentation to prove your position, your statement?
Madam President, I will provide.
Do you have the documents to table?
I don't have
at this time?
withdraw it until such time as I would be able to provide that.
Thank you.
But I would say,
Honorable Senator, can you please withdraw the statement?
I said, Madam President, forgive me if we didn't hear. I withdraw it until such time as I bring the information to the House. Suffice?
Thank you, Honorable Senator. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam President.
I need to remind you, Senator, we are debating the speech from the throne.
Yes, and because in the speech from the throne, so when we look at that, and I was almost also minded of the AG's expressions that went into other matters, and as a senior person, I was taking his lead, but I take your recommendations, Madam Speaker, Madam President. But just to close that point, it was said publicly by the Minister of Public Service, and I wish I had the article because many other things with nuances were said in the article, and I'll paraphrase and I stand to be corrected, that there are those who are being reviewed. So I withdraw the firing part of it, but there are those who are being reviewed. And that in and of itself is causing fear and intrepidation in the hearts of many. Further in the speech from the throne, it said that as a first priority, my government will therefore introduce legislation and policies to fully address future major health risks, and to avoid the need for emergency orders. I am glad for that because that was also our first order of business and the last order of business. And the document is also reviewed and was tabled, the Public Health Emergency Preparedness and Management Bill. And I'm sure the same will reappear again in spirit with its necessary tweaking. So I'm glad that that is consistent because had we had that document in hand, we would not have to resort to the emergency orders, which was a constitutional mechanism to deal with unforeseen matters. It is my understanding that the health orders of that had currently exist, Madam President, does not speak to many of the transportation means that we have in modern times. It did not speak to things like airports and airplanes. It spoke to cargo ships because it was so antiquated. So this commitment and speech for the throne will have bipartisan support, though the devil is in the details, and I'm grateful for that to be extended. It went on to say that the government will make investment in the healthcare infrastructure throughout the Bahamas and ensure that the family island clinics are properly equipped, inclusive of the capacity for telemedicine. And at a glance at the budget that was submitted, and I do say at a glance, and I stand the supplementary budget, draft budget, I have to ask the question if that would be something that would be undertaken in the next budget. If it is, someone can print it out for me, but it is a good undertaking on the whole. The speech to the throne also spoke to, and it says, quote, "My government will recognize and applaud and express its gratitude to the doctors and nurses and the frontline workers and the volunteers for their numerous and selfless service during this pandemic, in which I wholeheartedly support." And I asked the question, how and when? In the speech to the throne, Madam President, it says that the government will present the present economic crisis has left a tale of unprecedented misery among the Bahamian people and our public finances in a dismal state. And this goes back to my first statement, of which I used the term walking through gum, when it says that in the first line that the greatest priority is dealing with the health crisis in order for us to manage our economic crisis. But I need to say, even in light of this statement here today, that it was said by the minister, the financial secretaries and others, and we now acknowledge that in the midst of this crisis that we are going through, that even now the government has exceeded its projected revenue by over $90 million. And so whatever doomsday sayers may be there, and we are not out of the water. Anything can happen, and God forbid, and I thank God that we've had a non-active hurricane season. Could disrupt any administration. But we must all face up and admit that as of this first quarter, at the end of which this New Day administration came in, our country has been demonstrating and punching above the budget projection by some $90 million, which will make it possible for us to begin to do some things. Despite the bleak outlook, the government will introduce measures that will begin the immediate relief of the Bahamian people and their businesses. It is difficult for me, for any administration, with the word immediate, because governments are a big ship. It's not a jet ski. To turn that big ship, you can put on brakes 2 miles out and put it in reverse, and that ship is just still moving forward. And I say this not negatively, but it's very important that we keep the mindset of our Bahamian people in a realistic frame, because disappointment is expectations not fulfilled. And when the average man who doesn't care about the bureaucracies or the policies or the procedures you may have to go through or the adjustments to make something happen, though you may be sincere in your heart, when you drop the word immediate, you set yourself up for judgment that may not even be fair. In the sight of someone who may be, and ignorance simply mean I don't know, ignorance of what it takes to achieve what we set out to do. For example, I look at the next statement. I said the government will mandate that will amend the VAT Act to lower the rate of VAT across the board by 10%. And there'll be some who look at it and say, well, you say across the board by 10%, but you didn't say, you said reduce. You didn't say anything but raising. So why didn't you leave the ones that were zero rated behind and just cut everything else by 10%? Some will ask that. Some will ask that. Because it did not say we will make everything valuable at 10%. Then we would have anticipated that bread basket items and medications would automatically rise and you just level the playing field across. But it says something totally different. And then it causes you to sit back and wonder, is Will this be just simply a VAT holiday for a year? I think it is going to be for a year. But then are we getting a guarantee, or will we get some sort of guarantee that anywhere along the line that VAT itself would no longer be raised? I remember that initially in the conceptualization of VAT, that the initial projection, you must understand that every administration does studies and get expert opinions and does assessment before they bring anything forward, whether you like it or not. But the original projection of VAT, that the ideal number would have been 15 in order to achieve the revenue flexibilities that the government would need to achieve, and that was then. Do we have assurities that even though we are going through the vicissitudes of life as a nation, globally and otherwise, that after this VAT holiday, that first one, the breadbasket items could revert back to their zero rating, and for two, what are the prospects of a tax hike? And I say that because I know many times when persons say something, it is also connected to the heart. And I've heard over the last few months that it was stated very, very firmly by the Davis administration and their surrogates that the Minister administration, as soon as the election over, going to raise taxes. So it would cost me to think that they would have looked at something, the cost of them to think that there's a reasonable need for a raising of taxes. I am hoping that this tax holiday of 10% is not going to turn out to be something that the Bahamian people will regret coming up. It says also in the speech when shown that the government will also introduce measures to encourage renewable energy in industries such as solar, wind, and ocean. And I must commend the Prime Minister on his speech to the international community. And I do stand with Senator Gardner as it relates to what would seem to be almost a type of flip-flopping because of statements that was made, because there was introduced into that bold statement overseas some ambiguities and uncertainties when he landed back home about minded and not considering and so on and so forth. But when he spoke to climate change and to the point that my good member made as it relates to the grandmother in the flood-prone area, I would hope that our Prime Minister, who was once a former Minister of Works, who would have, Madam President, through you, not made allocations for such grandmother. In this new epiphany and realization and applause for his grandstand against climate change, would therefore seek to do all that is in his power to fight for those and to help those even in the building codes and address and remediate the flooding that many would face around our country. And I must add that should the sea level rise by 1 meter or our climate temperature rise by 2-digit points, we stand to lose about 14% of our GDP and 11% of our land mass, and that includes those that are already suffering from flooding. So the greatest urgency is to deal with those that are here now. So it is a very important time. And when we look at the issue of solar, I want us to be very, very cautious as to turning solar into a panacea, because just to create enough energy to power 1,000 homes with solar would require some 32 acres of land, which is not feasible in New Providence, maybe in some family islands. But if we do be creative and use turning home roofs into available properties for the placement of solar, we can possibly make a dent in that regard. I applaud, Madam Speaker, what the administration said as it relates to Junkanoo and the cultural arts, and I'm pleased to know that again that we were on the vanguard of that by allowing the Junkanoo corporations and all the groups to finally be able to spread their wings by allocations of land that is there for them to do the things that will make them a positive net generator of touristic income and turn Junkanoo into a year-round industry, to which I believe we are indeed blessed. Some of us may not know, but it came to my height when the former administration was pressing the Junkanoo Carnival that it caused us to see that at that time, Junkanoo was rated as the #1 festival around the world. Junkanoo. So we now realize that we have something in our hand that can go to a higher level. So I'm glad that this administration, through education, other ways, and other means, will increase the effort and the support of the performing arts and indeed junk canoe. I sit and I look at the relaunch and formalize the Sports in Paradise program. And it caused me to wonder back at that debacle of a stadium that we have. And I hope we look at repairing those Sports in Paradise as something, depending on the nature of it, basketball, maybe volleyball, could be held as it would have been in many of our larger hotels. But if we do get to the point of utilizing that stadium, I think, I know that we will have problems because it is in state of disrepair. The construction of it that was done was rather shoddy. And it's going to take a lot of money to repair that and bring that up to standard in order for us to be able to house. Remember, it had tremendous problems with the bathrooms and the sewage systems. And even right now, because remember when the stadium was about to be built, they left the steel out there for months and months and then still use the same rusted steel in the infrastructure, which is causing the concrete to swell. And so this administration, through the Ministry of Sport and doing that, has much work to do to bring us up to par. It says the government will introduce legislation to facilitate a comprehensive program for digitalizing the country. And I'll simply say, in the interest of time, Madam President, that was well on the way. And it is a true exercise of statesmanship for the administration to continue with that digitization and continue with the work of doing ease of business in this country. And I commend the government for that level of maturity in doing so. It says that the government will reconstruct the Bahamas Investment Authority and enter a streamlined application process for the development of new marketing strategy. And one thing I would say with that is we must move away from the history and the things that brought fear into our investment market, especially the old saying of Mr. 10% and ideas of nation for sale. So I'm glad when I see our Prime Minister speak about transparency and accountability and his fight against corruption, because it is indeed a new day, if not only for him as his leadership, to bring about the paradigm change, to ensure that things that afflicted us as a country does not return again, and ensure that that inoculation doesn't fail. So the government will return tourism to pre-COVID levels by harnessing existing markets. And again, I am pleased to thank them for completing that trajectory, because it was stated before that we had already reached pre-COVID levels in many aspects of our tourism industry. And it's because of things like the home porting and because of infrastructural development, as you see with the improvement of the docks, that will bode well for us. So this administration will have plenty ribbons to cut and much to say. And I would say that I'll be happy enough just for it to happen, even though they may not say we. The government will undertake the infrastructural upgrades throughout all the islands. And listen, I am glad, because our family islands, even in the midst of COVID, has been getting tremendous upgrades. And in this past budget that has been passed, those things have been made in place. And the government will expand the provision for potable water. I need to say not no more, because the islands have been benefiting from that tremendously. We would have heard a lot about Cal Island, but it's been done all around. And the government has begun to take charge of its own reverse osmosis plants that has been bleeding blood instead of pumping water, having to pay private developers millions of dollars to produce waters when we could have simply spent a few $1 million to buy our own reverse osmosis plants instead of paying tens of millions of dollars to various places in Eleuthera and other places. So I'm glad that that will be continue in that vein. So I'm very, very happy, Madam Speaker, for these things that is going on. Say the government will introduce the RISE program. I'd leave that there, but I think there was legitimate reasons why that program had failed. And the government will work with all stakeholders to bring about relief of mortgage and pay renters and rent payers to prevent the increase in and reduction in homelessness. They say relief in mortgage. I think that is maybe it's just a play on the word for mortgage relief, but I want to remind this administration of that process of mortgage relief, that The former Prime Minister, through who the vision was drafted for mortgage relief, said of himself that it does not address the root cause of mortgage deficiency, nor does it guarantee persons in difficulty will get the duty of care by their lender about their homes. So I hope this new policy of mortgage relief will bring something that is tangible. Why? Because me as a person, I'd rather not say something than to build somebody's expectation, because as I said before, Madam Speaker, expectations, disappointment is expectations not fulfilled. Madam Speaker, in the interest of time and cooperation, I want to close at this point in congratulating you on your position, and with all the sincerity of my heart, notwithstanding your position, I believe character counts, and I feel your character will make a difference. I say this not in the form of flattery, because my scriptures say Satan flatters, but I speak the truth. I had not known, I did not know you, and in mentioning it even to some of the colleagues in the party, they spoke well of you. And in my interactions, I think you and I are people who are just constrained by a higher order. We are Bahamians, and we can be just as good or bad as anyone, but our faith demands certain things. So I look forward to a good and robust time in this Senate under your leadership. And I thank you for allowing this time, and I do support our thanking of the Governor General for his reading of the speech from the throne.
Thank you, Honorable Senator. As many.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, in providing a brief wrap-up to the debate on this resolution, I want to thank all senators for their contributions. I believe each senator laid out their vision for a country that provides security and opportunity for all. All of the presentations were of a very high standard. Senators were passionate and eloquent. And from the presentations, Madam President, I believe I can say that there is much more that unites us than there is that divides us. This administration has laid out our plans and commitments, firstly in the blueprint and reflected in the speech from the throne. We are committed to fulfill these commitments, and we know and we expect that we will be held accountable and graded on our achievements and on our performance by the Bahamian people, by the side opposite, and indeed, Madam President, that is the true essence of a democracy, a government accountable to the Parliament, who is in turn accountable to the people of the country, and every administration should welcome that scrutiny and that accountability. With that said, Mr. Speaker, I just want to thank all the senators once again for their contributions. And I look forward as we move forward to equally spirited and high-level debates as we address the issues that come before us as we seek to implement our program. And so, Madam President, with that, I would just thank all senators for their contributions. And before I resume my seat, Madam President, in laying of the documents this morning, I was just advised by the clerk that there were some documents that had been paper-clipped together, and I omitted 3 of them. And so, with the permission of the House, I would like to, of the side opposite, Madam President, I would like to revert to that point of laying of documents so I can lay 3 additional documents. And so, Madam President, I beg leave to lay on the table of the Senate the Disaster Reconstruction Authority Special Economic Recovery Zone Relief Amendment Order 2021.
What?
Sorry.
Excuse me 1 second. Just want to confirm with the side opposite that you are in agreement with the laying of these documents on the table at this part in the agenda. Thank you. Please proceed, Senator Honorable House. Yes.
Madam President, for their concern.
Thank you, side opposite. Yes.
And so I beg leave to lay on the table of the Senate copies of the following. The Disaster Reconstruction Authority Special Economic Recovery Zone Relief Amendment Order 2021.
Order that the document be brought to the table. Order that the document do lie on the table.
And I beg leave to lay on the table of the Senate, Madam President, a copy of the Industries Encouragement Approved Manufacturer Air 20 Manufacturing Order 2021.
Order the document be brought up. Order that the document do lie on the table.
And finally, Madam President, I beg leave to lay on the table of the Senate a copy of the following. The Industries Encouragement Approved Product Air 20 Manufacturing Order 2021.
Order that the document be brought up. Order that the document do lie on the table.
Thank you, Madam President.
As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who are opposed will stand. The motion is carried. And the resolution is hereby agreed. Further resolutions?
There are none, Madam President.
Discharge of select committees. Notices for future meetings. Orders for clerk. Adjournment.
Madam President, I move that at its adjournment, the Senate do adjourn sine die.
Is there a seconder?
Second motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the House at its rising do adjourn sine die. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. Final adjournment.
Madam President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn.
Is there a seconder?
I second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the Senate do now adjourn. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is carried. The Senate now stands adjourned. Sine die.